All right, welcome to the Sae Bae cast number 211 with LGR, Lone Gym Rat, and JT, also known as Greyhelmed. LGR and JT, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Amazing. JT, how about you?
Every day above ground is a blessing, right? I'm chilling, having a good time.
Hell yeah. Okay, so you guys, I need to just pull this meme up because it's just fucking hilarious. JT made this.
You're actually gonna show it?
Oh yeah, I
Oh
am.
no, not like this.
I am showing it. It's so funny because we have this whole list of, topics and ground to cover for this cast. This is definitely going to be a beefy one, but they were kind of making the whole outline, and it says episode 209 because they were definitely prepared for it to be episode 209. All of a sudden, I dropped the Matt K Tasty cast. They were not expecting another cast that week. And then the day before their episode, I just get an NFL player on. So, yeah, I just thought the meme was hilarious, and we're all laughing about it. But this is definitely going to be a banger episode. I think just lately, especially, my audience has been really kind of into the passionate game discussion cast. I feel like that's always been the case. Like, they always love it. Some months I'll diverge for a long time and just be talking to like creators about Twitch and whatnot, but it's good to sort of go back to the roots on these casts, and a lot of people love like the super in-depth game discussion with really passionate players. So this should be a banger, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, so should we just like get the ball rolling right off the bat and start talking about the current state of Ironman game mode? I guess I'll let either you, Lone Gym Rat, or JT kind of start us off with some of your guys' thoughts, and I'll have you guys mildly lead the discussion. I'll be here, obviously, kind of guiding it along as well, but there's a lot to cover, so let's get it started.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I actually had questions for you. And then one thing I noticed for you recently is you started, the group hardcore Ironman, and I feel like kind of witnessing some of that ignited some level of passion in you, and then you tried to go back to your main iron, and you struggled with it. I'm
Hmm.
curious, like, what your thoughts are starting a brand new, like, normal Ironman account by yourself, and seeing where you've gone and how you've enjoyed and how the early game and mid game so far, like your viewpoints and the changes. Are they good? Are they bad? Because I don't think any of us have really played that in years.
Yeah, no, in fact, looking at the outline, this is it's very, it just reminds me how like narrow my kind of mindset was on the game when it comes to like just super end game Iron Man, the things we desperately need for it, like the updates we want, the game balancing and stuff that I want fixed and stuff. And now playing, the group hardcore, and now Squad Cam, the new Iron Man, it's like I'm a lot more aware of kind of like other problems in the game, like imbalances, for example, and just some of the reasons why there's so many mid-level updates pushed and why there's so many like early game adjustments made and stuff, because it's just this game is massive, and catering it toward just the end game is just not and again, it's not like any of us agree with that take, but we as end game players, like, we definitely were kind of trapped in just like seeing the game as like, this is what we want, this is how the game should be balanced, and it's all super high level stuff, but there's so many other imbalances with the game. And so I think that's what's kind of opened my eyes playing these new accounts. And also, you guys have probably heard, if you follow my rambles at all, but ultimately playing an endgame Ironman for 5 years just got to the point where it's like there's an endless goalpost that keeps getting moved further and further. So it never felt like there was a finish to the game. And then on top of that, you guys probably have heard my thoughts on CAs, for example, just this continuous stripping of achievements from you. Like, you achieve something and then it's taken away from you a few months later. You get it back, it's taken from you. And that, I think, just became really obnoxious. And you don't experience that much with early game. As soon as you get something or unlock an achievement, it's yours. And it feels good.
Yeah, I think the permanence has always been something that's like really positive about RuneScape. Is once you achieve something, you have that. And I'm not a fan of the goal posting either. I think it's really difficult, especially me. You have Sae Bae and LGR has Lone Gym Rat. You guys max gear Iron Man super late into the game, and me, my Iron Man's I think barely, like, it's like 3 years old, right? A little over 3 years old or somewhere around there. and I'm maxed, and I'm just getting to the point now where I'm dry on every mega rare. I'm trying to get T-Bow and stuff like that.
Every mega
So
rare? Oh God.
yeah, we're working through it. It's life, it's part of the game, right? It's the
For some
beauty of
people,
it.
it's
Yeah.
yeah. For some people, they have to
Not
work through it.
everybody gets a T-Bow like 20 KC like you do.
I mean, it's
um,
funny because I got mine at 20 KC too. I'm
Oh
sorry.
my God, we are so spooned.
But to go back to your question about like mid-level updates, I think it's kind of sad that we get mid-level updates, but at the same time, if you look at a perspective from Jajex's side, they're trying to please the majority player base, and pleasing the high-level community is like pleasing 1% of the people. However, a mid-level update will be used by practically everyone. So for them, they see that as a W, they see that as increasing their player count, even though it's not like Coliseum 2.0 every update. I know like some people in our clan, for example, like Marnie's been begging for endgame content, but unfortunately, as a business, Jagex is not putting the priority there fully. They still are, but not full time.
Yeah, it's also tough getting those just a bunch of end game pieces of content out because you got to also keep in mind like the end game pieces of content are catered toward those that are putting in 12-hour days. So
Mm-hmm.
the content that they do put out for end game tends to get completed almost instantaneously by these sweats that will just pour their heart and soul into the game and dedicate their whole life to it. So it's
It's
like
not just sweats. It's just I think the people have understood this game at such a deep level that
mhm.
anything that Jagex throws, someone's gonna figure it out.
yeah, I
Probably
had
not gonna
a
be you and I, but someone's gonna figure it out. That's
well,
knows this game at such a
what do you
in-depth
think they
level.
want? Do you think they actually want something just stupidly difficult and they just haven't gotten it, or they want something that's fun on the level of Tob that technically isn't difficult, but there's ways to min max it and just have a lot of sort of complexity to it. So it's like I don't know because it's so hard to really capture what the end game players truly want.
Very good question.
this is something that LGR and I actually discussed the other day, which it's just I think it's funny. Was it Timothy Kane, the guy who created Fallout, has posted videos and stuff like this. Um, yeah, I think it's Timothy Kane, and he basically goes into the depth of like, well, developers are struggling with what players want because players really don't know what they want. And it's hard for a lot of like gamers to understand what they like or what they really want in the game until they have it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. I think Tob is one of those great things. I don't the skill expression in that and the longevity and sustainability of being able to do it is, in my mind, perfect. There's nothing wrong with that piece of content. You have a 2K cape to go for, which is a good time investment. There's lots of good there's log slots. And you have things like Nilo, which it's not something you get down pat in 50 hours of gameplay. That's hundreds of hours of effort and trial and error to like get that stuff down.
And it's also not essential though. You don't need to min max Nyla room, but the people that really want to take the game to its like farthest point, they're the ones that it's catered to. So it's not like this forced thing that if you want to pass this room and get like an increased purple chance or something, you gotta figure out all the intricacies of a room. It's like it's optional, and I think that's important as well.
Nilo has so much depth. I don't know if you've ever seen those like screenshots of the Max F Nilo, and they tell you exactly what tick to shoot what Nilo, which
It's
direction when to pop pigs.
wild.
When I was doing Nilo, I was like drunk, being on table, clicking the white ones. There was no technique back then. I just didn't really care.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
a very
it's
different
all
play style.
it's also this is one of the things I like kind of shining a light on is you'll get new players involved in Tob and they don't have 30 different plugins on where the NPCs are dying before you've even technically hit them. Like the animation is like it's like on the very tick you've hit them, they've already disappeared, they vanished. That's an insane quality of life improvement. There's this way to just make it so you don't even click the wrong Nilos. There's tile markers and everything just become. I mean, I've seen people's Nilo rooms where it just looks like a tri-colored circus. Like it's just like nothing looks resemblant to the actual room itself, and it's just this min-max fest. And it's so strange because like there's so much complexity, but some people really don't want to turn on the whole like circus of just everything to min-max the room, and it's, I don't know, it's kind of bizarre for me. It's like I can appreciate anybody's play style, and if that's how they kind of want to play, if the plugins are legal, go for it. But there's still a part of me that kind of like repulses from just the insane plugin scape that we've gotten to, where and it's not everywhere, but I think Tob is like the most egregious example of just plugins going out of control, where if you were to have a top level player do Nilo and turn off all their plugins, I think they would be like, what the fuck? Like, this is actually really difficult. Again, like, it's just, I don't know, not really
I think
asking
you're
a question,
underselling. I think
yeah.
you're underselling muscle memory. I think I don't know how in depth you want to go, but like if you look at things, if you I don't know how familiar you were with like blue light and steroid, like the clients before they got banned officially, right? But you saw so many people in like 416, for example, that played on client, and everybody knew, click back on two, and that's how people played. You still had a lot of people, a lot of really good gamers who could still do like money fours, like sub 15 raids pretty consistently without client.
I
Um,
actually remember that day, JT, when they banned clients. I was
your
doing Hardmode
casuals were
Top.
screwed, man, because
Oh,
they
it was.
never learned how to do the content. But there were a lot of like big gamers that still could comfortably do that content.
No,
I
no, no.
went in We Do Raids, Hardmode
Yeah.
Top, when that clients got banned. That was probably the most fun day of my life. People with 1,000 kill count just tanking melees nonstop. But I do agree, like there's a mixture of both. Obviously, there's
No, no,
people that.
there's clearly a mixture, but there are, and you talk about muscle memory, but even the muscle memory, you start getting used to just like the convenience of not having to right click a Nilo if there's one underneath it. It's like you just
Mhm.
everything becomes kind of left clickable. The room is clean looking. There's not a bunch of Nilos exploding, and you're seeing the animations of it. It's like, I
That's
don't know.
fair. That's very yeah, it's very fair. There are a lot of aspects that Nihilor adds, like being able to see my wave number on my Nihilos is very nice.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because you wonder, would this help the average player if there was like some of these plugins that were just like already in the thing? Because some people would just go into Top and it'll be naked. I mean, there's just no plugins available. And it's like, would they have a better time if they had just this whole pack of plugins that they could just use? Like, I don't know. It's weird because the better you get at the game, the easier it gets in a way.
I
Like,
really like the progression of like finding plugins because I think I've taught people Tob, and I think a big struggle with there is for me, I use all these Tob plugins, right? Tob editions, Nihilor, like those are all aspects of the content that I need to comfortably do things. What I'm used to. You give somebody who's never done this content before all of these plugins, you're adding so much visual clutter to them. I think you're actually overwhelming them more than anything.
for
So
sure,
I
for
think
sure.
learning without plugins is probably the best option.
So I want to ask this then. Do you think, like, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, I'm like, do you guys think it's good where we're at with plugins? It seemed like several years ago, there was kind of a hesitancy toward plugins. Like, there was a lot of respect given to, for example, those that did the Inferno in the early days and were dropping vials, and there was no tile markers, and there's just like, there was no enemy highlighters and stuff. It's just everything seemed very bare bones, and there was some sort of, and again, like true tile didn't exist either. It was just a completely different game. And I wonder, have your guys' viewpoints changed on this at all? I mean, I would totally be, um, you know, uh, it would be fair to say like it hasn't changed at all if you guys fall into that category. But I wonder because it feels like the player base as a whole has kind of shifted. Like the plugins no longer are a thing you should be like shameful of in any way. Not like shameful, maybe that's the wrong word, but just like they're not even seen as a handicap, even though they are a huge handicap in a way. It's like, it's just like, no, the more plugins you have, it's almost like a signal of like you're a better player, which is kind of like the opposite that we experienced like 5 years ago. Any
Uh,
thoughts?
I mean, I remember like back in the day with Cheat Client, a lot of the plugins that the Cheat Client had, today we have in regular RuneLite. So
Hmm.
the mentality definitely shifted significantly, but at the same time, I kind of took a different approach to the game. I took a step back, and if players feel that they need to use plugins and think it helps them and they enjoy them, then why not? You're allowed to use them. However, I do think Jagex needs to draw like a proper line. It's kind of hard to know what's OP and what's not OP. Quest Helper, for example, is that plugin is absolutely broken. But at the same time, most people dislike quests. So allowing that plugin to exist in the game, I wouldn't see it as a bad thing. And it's not like if solving quests is like gives you BIS clues or BIS rates for money or whatever. There's no real benefit because once you finish the quest, you don't have to go back. So for me, I'm just neutral. I used to be very like anti-plugin, and then I started using like when I started using RuneLite, I started using those inventory tags, and that helped me so much for learning top. And now, like whenever you see people with inventory tags, people just meme each other for it. But I don't really care, you know. Like one of my good buddies, he has a Grandmaster Zuck helmet. He uses inventory tags, and
Revoke
I
his
don't
helmet.
see any difference. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, take it away.
I'm kidding. No, I've yeah.
Like,
No, and for me, like the only reason I really push on this is kind of just to gauge where the community's at and like your guys' perspective on it. Because ultimately, I don't really care. I've definitely taken a huge step back from the kind of, I don't know, elite sort of mindset toward a lot of things. I never really cared that much about plugins in the first place. But I think what was annoying was hearing super high level players that want more and more difficult content, and yet they, from the get-go, make everything as easy as humanly possible when the update actually drops. And this game can only get so complex. It's a fucking tile-based game with a tick system, and it's like, all right, if you really want something more difficult, why are we continually just dumbing every piece of content that drops down to like it's, I don't know, it's just bizarre to me.
Yeah, I think I have maybe a biased perspective. I think plugins are fantastic. I think if they make somebody's enjoyment of the game that they are playing in their spare time for fun more enjoyable and more accessible, I don't see an issue with it. I think as long as it's not like doing actions for you, it's not playing the game for you. Like World of Warcraft, for example, has a very, very, at least back when I played, this was, 6, 7 years ago, had a very healthy perspective on plugins where Blizzard was like, you're not allowed to charge people for plugins. You can pretty much do add-ons. They're called add-ons. You can do add-ons however you want. And like you're doing like mythic raids and stuff like that. Add-ons were like a requirement. You have like deadly boss mods and like indicators to help you make sure your rotations are done properly and you're timing them properly for your like DPS and stuff like that. Or it makes it easier to heal people. It's just, I think that if it's something that helps you enjoy the game, I don't see how it's hurting anybody else as long as you're not just blatantly cheating. I don't think there's like any loss of integrity by using plugins.
I had a question for you though, Sader. Would you still enjoy clues without the clue plugin?
No, hell no. No, and again, I want to make it very clear, like I'm not anti-plugin whatsoever. I think plugins have been across the board a phenomenal thing for this game, for the health of the game and everything. And again, it was just me kind of posing the whole question of like, I don't know. It's really just like this all stemmed from you kind of having just said like endgame players want endgame content. And like as soon as we get an endgame piece of content, it gets dumbed down within a week. It's like just from plugins alone. Like it's just, just is what it is. And so
I agree.
At what point, because like you can make something so goddamn difficult that it's untouchable for the average player if it's not going to abuse plugins. But then, people, I mean, I just remembered like No Monkey when he was trying to do like Leviathan and he turned on this one plugin that was like supposed to be for like colorblind people that like shows you exactly.
Yeah, visual sound IDs.
Yeah, the visual sound IDs. And I'm like, okay, this is broken. Like this is showing you like, yes, it's supposed to be like it's supposed to be like an accessibility, but like if that were to be what everyone starts using in order to even complete a piece, just imagine Leviathan, like the no stun Leviathan was actually like a new end game thing that came out where it's basically just near impossible for any actual player to do unless you use all these accessibility plugins. Like I could see almost like this alternate reality where we get to the point where they start pushing out just like insanely stupid, difficult content that's like not even fun. It's just like fucking how autistic can you possibly be and just staring at your screen, just trying to click things within like a fraction of a second. and the only way to actually complete it is through plugins. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, what like how has the game become this? It's just, I don't know. It's
It's a scary thought. Yeah, I think.
By this, go for it. Sorry.
Oh, I apologize.
I guess like the difficulty here is how do Jagex develop new content that's hard but also not a joke with a plugin. So I guess that makes the job for Jagex even harder.
I think that they struggle with the concept of, hey, we're gonna draw this line in the sand, and then the water comes up and keeps pushing that line, making the line grayer and grayer and grayer. And I think we've seen that with a lot of integrity things in the game, not just plugins. I mean, they specifically have rules against indicators that show you where something is about to fall on the ground, right? Like cheat clients used to have falling crystal indicators or bomb indicators in Ohm to show you the radius of those things. They said that was specifically not allowed. They got rid of it. But here's one thing that does still have it that people don't even think about. The Volcano plugin that's on RuneLite shows you the areas that rocks are falling, and they just leave it alone. I'm not complaining. I don't care. Like, it doesn't change the way I play the game. But I think Jagex is really bad at enforcing like these integrity things. And you just see them start now, like Ironman game mode integrity, for example. Like, you look at back in the day, there were players who were banned for like using shop-scape stuff. I don't remember who they were. I didn't really play back then.
I remember that.
Yeah, and nowadays you have so many different things that like Megascales are finally starting to touch on that. I mean, Megascales has, in my opinion, like, I think it's a terrible way to play the game. You have so many people who start their irons and they're like, well, I have this main with 15 bill, liquid gold laying around. I'm just going to pay to get these items from chambers. I don't know. It's
yeah. No, I'm glad they
I think lines need to be harder, like more drawn in the sand.
For sure.
By the way, speaking of shop-scape, I don't know if you're aware, but there was a bug in Varlamore Part 2 where you could sell gems from your main to your iron. I know an iron buddy that just banked like giga XP from doing that.
Yeah, they see, this is a whole rabbit hole to go down. I mean, you guys probably know my position. I am against shop-scape. I would love. I'm against it, but I'm also aware enough, so I have like two alternatives. It's either just go to town on shop-scape, where like, okay, just allow all shops to kind of have, like, if there is a stock, make it so it's infinite, basically. Make it so there's no need to world hop. Make it so the prices are stable. Make it also that, I don't know, like, it's just like, if that's the road that we want to go down, where there's shops available for Ironman, then send it and make it so there's no world hopping. That needs to be done. In fact, I would even be okay with something like, you go to a Rune shop, any stackable item, you could just click like buy X on it and just literally choose the exact amount you want and then just move on with your day. But my preferred approach would just be to get rid of shop-scape. Make it so maybe there still are shops, but it's a completely local stock tied to your player. So world hopping doesn't affect it. So if you went to like the blast furnace shop, there's 100 gold ore, you buy it out, and hopping would not raise it up. It'd have to naturally regen. So it basically eliminates these sorts of metas to skilling where it's all shop-scape involved. I personally am not a fan of that.
I agree with you. Guys, I think I'm 110% on board with that. And I know it's like a hot take and not a common opinion, but the one thing I've noticed over the last few years, especially with Ironman game mode, is all these people start an Ironman and then they get to the end game and they have scythes and they have a shadow and everyone wants to constantly be like, oh, well, I want to kill Duke and I shouldn't, you look back and what was the best possible rate to make blood runes after the outfit came out pre-Scar's Mine? It was like you could make like 9k bloods and like 11k deaths if you did combo through the Abyss.
I think it was a little bit more than that, but
was it? Okay. But
yeah,
self-sustainment is like part of the Iron Man game mode. If the Scar Essence Mine kind of just destroys it entirely, just to cater to people who don't want to say, okay, well, I'm going to use my scythe here in this piece of content because it saves me a substantial amount of time, but I'll use my blade or my fang in this piece of content because I'm only losing 2 kills an hour, 3 kills an hour, and I can justify it.
Yeah, that, and again, another rabbit hole to go down. Like, there's clear imbalances when it comes to rune crafting. You should not be crafting that low amount of runes. There's a bunch of different. I'm not even going to start the conversation on like the amount of options there really are to improve rune crafting and make it so it's worthwhile. But that would be a route they go down. But instead, they just added some very, very private servery thing called the Scar Essence Mine, which is just out of control. I would have much preferred them to just be like, hey, guess what? We're just going to make the rune shops infinite inventory, like infinite stock. So you just go to town on it, buy whatever you want. I would have actually genuinely preferred that rather than the Scar Essence.
The Scar Essence Mine is kind of weird. I remember talking to Marnie when that came out, and he was like, "What the hell is this Iron Man update?"
It's
And
so
when you really
cringe.
think about it, like it's purely Iron Man update. There's no
It's
reason the
so
main would ever do
cringe,
that.
bro.
I don't like the idea of having local shops. I think that would be kind of annoying if you're trying to buy like feathers or other things. I wouldn't mind the infinite shop. That would be like a amazing quality of life.
The cool
Probably a
thing
better
is,
option.
here's the cool thing. If they, and it's not to say remove shops and then don't touch the game. I think when the shops are removed, it would really start signaling the imbalances with the game. So for example, feathers. Okay, now there's a problem getting feathers. You could still go to the shop. Let's say there's still those packs. They still will restock, whatever. But maybe it wouldn't be the new meta now to just sit at a shop and wait for it to, regen. It could still be, but you could do something like, okay, maybe chickens now drop 1,000 feathers or something. Or maybe there's like some evil chicken thing that you can kill, some like little demi boss in Lumbridge where like you go into this little cave and there's like some evil chicken that drops 5,000 feathers, like some more thematic way to gather your feathers. And the same thing with gold ore. I mean, as soon as there's not a shop to buy your ore, it would actually start encouraging the devs to make updates that thematically fit with the game. So, for example, the gold horseshoe mine in Brimhaven, or the gold. What's that quest and what's that place
Dwarf
called?
Canyon quest in Keldrim.
Keldegrim. Yeah, like you could have some thematic gold mining thing there, where like you're actually banking a bunch of gold per hour, and it's actually done through mining or whatnot. Like there's just different alternatives to go down, but because we have these metas that are tied to shop-scape, it's like we're hindered.
Yeah, you can't beat shop-scape. It's too OP.
Yeah, I mean, you look at gold now. Gold in Shopscape is you're using an alt to sell yourself gold so you don't have to world hop anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's absurd.
Speaking of that, I remember Jai was telling me he's making 2 Iron Man Blood Altar alts, and I was like, oh, what the hell? Why? And he explains to me like the meta, and I'm like, that's so stupid, but okay.
Blood
Guess,
altar alts. What's that?
Yeah, he's doing like Zia Blood RC just to make GP, and then for the
Oh,
I don't
okay.
remember if it's Zale or if it might be the conventional Blood Altar.
Okay, and then
And then he makes money, and then he buys the gold ore from it.
Okay, so it's a gold or alt, but the way he funds it is through ZRC. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
because I guess it's AFK enough to do while skilling or doing other things.
Yeah, see,
I don't know about you guys, but
silly.
I didn't start an iron for that.
No, I'm not. There's no way. If I'm doing that, my account's probably hacked. You should report me.
Yeah, no, it's silly. Like some players are totally for this kind of thing. I don't lose sleep over it ultimately, especially when it's such a minor thing like this. Like, okay, if you really wanted to sweat out 2 different Ironmen that are making money and taking advantage of this system where you can, it's all a shared stock, like so be it. But I genuinely believe wholeheartedly that it would be a better game experience if there was just no metas revolved around any shopping.
Yeah, I agree.
Again, with the caveat that the game would be balanced in a way to make it appropriate. Not like the current state of the game right now with all the shops removed. They'd obviously have to start introducing new methods, but something that's more thematic.
Yeah, if they just remove shops today, that'll cause a lot of issues. They'd have to do something beforehand.
Yeah, they would. I don't even think they'd have to do something beforehand. I just think quickly now, try to find some alternatives. I actually think it would be a very refreshing thing to actually see, instead of things getting devalued, things getting, what's the opposite of devalued? Revalued?
Revalued?
Like, we've always seen the game, like the more time you just spend logged out is advantageous. But it would be cool to kind of say, oh, you didn't take advantage of it. It's kind of like the Zulrah nerf, you know, when Zulrah's loot table got nerfed big time. It was like one of the few updates where it's like, oh shit, you should have taken advantage of it in the early days, but you didn't. Same with Wintertod, I guess. Although nowadays
with Hunter Rumors, with Keditech, a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, you know, because generally speaking, it's the opposite. It's like, you know, it's actually better to wait. But this would be a system where like, oh, you should have taken advantage of it. So I'm actually okay with them not preemptively like adding different things. Let's talk about dry protection. That's one of the points. What are your guys' thoughts?
You can go first, JT.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. I think it's a really scary concept, and I hope and I think a majority of the player base is against it. I think the concept that they did with what's that stuff called? Moons of Peril. Mm-hmm. I think Moons of Peril was good for what it was worth. There was still some randomness to it, but you weren't going to get dupes of that set before you finished that set. I liked that. I thought it was, with the way Moons is created, it made it a fun grind to say, okay, let's go knock this out. Let's just do it. And as you complete, you know, different bosses or different sets, you then get to only kill 2 of the bosses and so on and so forth. I think that was well handled. But my concern is things like, you look at Fosanis and, oh, you know, they just buffed the Fosanis rates, but people were like, oh, we just need to have it so I don't have to get like 8 helms in a row before I get, you know, a Halberg. I just think that constantly knowing that, oh, I just have to do another 25 KC and then I'll get, you know, some unique role. I think that's really, it takes away from like the magic that we have in RuneScape. Mm-hmm. And I get really nervous that we have people, it's Reddit specifically, that likes to push for these things.
Let's hear your take, LGR. It differs.
I think they should come more with the approach of what they did for like the rings in DT2, where it's 3 different items you have to roll, because that essentially is kind of like dry protection. Statistically speaking, you're reducing the variance of going dry, and so doing so reduces the odds that you go dry essentially, but it also reduces the odds that you spoon. The only gripe I have with the DT2 rings is it's an invisible roll, which is kind of depressing. Because you don't actually know what your completion rate is. I would have loved to see like some troll item, like a ring of life or something, to prove that you rolled the ring table once. But I think
they created like the perfect thing for that, though. They created ingots. All they had to do is once you get your first ingot, that's 1 roll. Second ingot, second roll. Third ingot, you get the vestige and the ingot.
I mean, I would have personally just scrapped the whole ingot idea in general. Yeah. But that could have been a good way to 2-in-1 it. Like my suggestion would have worked. So
yeah, this is a sensitive topic because it's like going dry sucks, but when it really sucks is when there's very fucked up drop tables, and the 2 that come to mind are still to this day Nightmare, even with all the buffs they've made, and the other is Chambers. Out of control. I'm sorry, it's just how I feel. It's how I felt for years. Chambers purples are way too rare. It was designed that way when there was 1 raid in the entire game. It was like the only piece of endgame content, and so the rates were just astronomical for no reason, just to basically like milk, you know, people's time there. You know, just it's like, okay, we spent all this time, we got to keep people engaged in this content. Now what are we gonna do? Make the T-bow 600 hours? And that's back when you're having to use a goddamn whip.
Low pipe everything.
Yeah, it's just this is out of control, and it's, in my opinion, just drop rates in general need to be increased. Now, I'm touching on those main 2 pieces of content because it's just like the simplest approach, but I love the approach they've kind of started going down. There's still some exceptions to this, but it seems like drop rates are a lot more reasonable these days. I mean, we just have so many bosses, so many monsters to kill, there are so many items in this game now that, yes, for an endgame player that's already put in 25,000 hours into their account, you get 1 update and because you've already completed everything else, so it's like, oh, I don't want to finish this so quickly, like make it so it's a long grind. But for the average player that's only spent, you know, 1,000 hours into the world, it's like, dude, there's too much to go for. Like there's way too many hours to be spending on minor upgrades. It's like across the board, drop rates need to be much more reasonable. And I'm kind of with you, JT, where I actually like the charming nature of there not being any form of dry protection, but the only way that actually functionally works is with drop rates that are reasonable. I mean, I even would love to have seen, for example, CG, I think a 1 in 400 for a BOFA. I'm sorry, like I even think that's maybe too rare. I would say like a 1 in 256 would have actually been like a really appropriate rate to have for it.
Really?
Yeah, and that's only because there's just so much variety and it's ever expanding. Like there's so many different things to get these days. And I think having more reasonable rates, because I think BOFA's like 80 hours or something efficiently if you're already like kind of max stats, sort of.
I'm not sure. I was so because of when you get it in your account, typically on an Ironman, you're looking at like 8-minute KCs. If you're not great, you're getting like 7 KC an hour. 6 KC an hour if you're doing like tier 2 10-minute clears, which is I think what people are doing when they're getting their BOFAs. It's a substantial grind. Like it's nothing to scoff at. I just don't. I think it's so many Ironmen that I know look at it as like this is your entry level to see if you can stick this game mode out. This is your CG grind. You go get your BOFA. You know, buckle up, little guy. Like this is what you're in for the rest of your time. So I'm not saying like I'm impartial, right? I spooned 2 enhanced seeds at like 230 KC, and I was out of there. So it's easy for me to say, oh yeah, I think the grind's fine. I didn't go rate, you know.
Yeah. But think of the people. I mean, again, I'll just bring up Lauren just because she listened to that episode where I made an example out of her horrible CG luck. I mean, she's 1500 KC right now, doesn't have a seed or a pet. And I've seen people go way crazier. 7 went 3600 or so before his first seed. I mean, again, that's like out of control. Those are like the very unlucky, of the unlucky. It's just like this is not going to happen to most people. But that just gets to the point where, okay, somebody's quitting over this. Like the game's not fun anymore. Yes, if you're going to dedicate, your 20s and 30s to the game, it's probably reasonable, whatever. But like for the average player, even somebody that's considered above average playing, they are putting in, let's just say, 30 hours a week or something into this game. Like it's still just an extreme amount of time to go dry just for one item. And then it's like you move on to chambers or something. Let's just say you go 3x the rate of a T-bow or just something. Like you're spending over 1,000 hours getting something that's, I don't know. In my opinion, things across the board should not be as rare. Just how I see it. I think there is a place for rarity, and I think those places are for the true cloggers in this game, where it's like pets can be rare because they don't mean anything. It's not actually like enhancing your arsenal. It's not like any sort of item upgrades or anything like that. I think jars can be rare. I think cosmetics can be rare. That's totally appropriate. But everything else that feels like a meaningful upgrade to your arsenal should be very much toned back. Like it should be a lot more reasonable to get items across the board. That's my take.
I want to add a fun fact, by the way. When you were talking about like the updates we've had in the last year, so the real one, he's like a EHC, so efficient hour clogger. He's basically like a math wizard. And
they replaced the EHC efficient hours clue to clog. Damn it!
I'm sorry, man.
Clue boys.
Too many cloggers.
You're good.
But he basically calculated the amount of hours in updates we received in 2024, and it's actually a lot lower than I thought. I don't know if you want to take a guess. You know already, JT. You might have seen the message.
So what? Just to get all like normal items, like
all
kind of like
updates,
the essential.
Let's just say you log in
and green log
January 1st. And you green log all the new updates of 2024.
Okay, so let me think about this. That's Coliseum, that's Huey, that's just like the Varlamore stuff, basically. Oh yeah, and I was gonna say like this would shoot up massively if we get the Helmet of the Moon on there, but we'll talk about that later.
True.
So amount of hours and efficiently, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
I'm
talking about like a Marnie level gamer,
okay.
just like full on sweating.
I'm gonna guess. Wait. Before I guess, can you just make sure I'm not missing any pieces of content? What am I
You
missing? I'm just
got
thinking of Varlamore.
Curious, Hunter
You have a
Rumors,
Raxmore or
Coliseum,
Raxor.
Moons, yeah.
Oh, Araxor.
Tormented
Okay.
Demons, the Anchoring Teleport Scroll thing,
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
Arena
Okay.
Boots, Huey Amog's Mixology, Zombie Helmet.
Ooh. Okay. There we go. I'm thinking. I'm gonna say 400 hours.
Damn, you're very close. 341 hours.
Wow.
That's not a lot, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
No. I mean, it's
got like an hour a day, I guess, which is reasonable.
again, but for an absolute guy that's going to sweat
Yeah,
every
for a
possible
gamer.
second. So the even with somebody that is already max and has all the equipment and stuff that they need to efficiently grind and all the stats, I mean, I could see like the average person still spending 500 hours playing, actually getting that, but and that's on average as well.
And you also
That
have to learn Coliseum. There's a few other things, but
yeah,
yeah, you're right.
that's a low amount. So what do you have numbers for like previous years? It's probably
No, I
much
wish
much
I
more.
did. I can
Okay,
ask him to calc it for me.
that's
But yeah,
fascinating. Yeah.
it's very interesting. I was surprised with that data. He also made he basically pulled the data of each clogger from the start of 2024 till the end, and he like calculated how much EHC each player received, and some of which have been putting in like 3,000 hours in terms of EHC. It's like, for example, Sedge, he put 3,200 hours. I think I have the right one. Right, do
Fucking
I?
nuts. What
Yeah, it's
is
kind of cool
what is the total amount of EHC there is, or
for
clog hours?
completion.
Yeah, for completion.
I don't know by the top of my head. I think it's 44,000 for mains. Do you
I
know,
thought it was.
JT?
I thought it was higher than that. Um, I can look. Give me a second.
One
Yeah,
thing.
sorry, that was just a random tangent. I had a
No, I think
flashback. I had to find it.
that actually pulls me onto another topic of Helmet of the Moon. What do you guys think? Should that have been included in the clog?
Honestly, like, fuck it. Just do it. See
That's
what
what I
happens.
say. That's what I'm saying. What the hell?
But the thing that I can see, like, I can see some top page cloggers being a little upset. But at the same time, I would be really interested to see, like, what metas people discover. Like, imagine some guy just, like, two-tick mining some random ass rock on Varlamore because apparently you get 2 keys an hour. That'd be
The,
kind of cool to see.
I will say there is one thing that I could see the reason maybe they didn't add it to the clog, and that's like, you see, okay, there's reasons Jar of Darkness needed to be fixed for sure, but it was a complete non-essential item. That's just like, who cares if this ever gets changed? This is like one of the just like the third age jars basically. But if you did add the Helmet of the Moon to it, you would just see Marnie and Bazilla just every fucking hour on Twitter yelling to change the rate of it, and it would get changed eventually. So,
Well, I
but
think they would probably just they could just add different sources. Maybe we also have Varlamore Part 3 that should be coming out. Maybe
yeah,
that'll shit out keys.
I don't want it
There's
to
a
though. I want it to
potential.
be just this stupid rare thing that's just extremely masochistic to go for. I actually like that. I feel like I was a bit hesitant towards Mod Arcane's philosophy of adding stupid rare items like that, but the Helmet of the Moon, because it literally means nothing, and it's just like this quirky ass helmet. I'm all about it, man. And I think throw it into the clog. It has. I think the only exception to clogs that actually makes sense is PvP related items, because it actually just breaks the PvP minigame itself, because people just go in there and don't actually participate the way they should.
Just boost it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were banning people for that, weren't they?
Yeah, they were for BH.
That's
I
wild.
remember.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I think there's a fair argument for that. I mean, it's like they want this to be a PvP minigame.
that's fair.
When you have people in there just like being loot pinatas, or just paying for kills or whatnot, it's like it just destroys sort of integrity to it. There's just bad incentives that are derived just from the fact that there's two different reasons people are doing it. One for the clog and they fucking hate this place, and then there's other people that actually want to just engage and have a fun PvP fight. I don't know.
I
So
do think there are weird things that are not on the clog that do astound me, like the Blorva kit or like white lily seeds that come from Hispori. just like unique things that don't come from anything else that
Yeah,
just aren't
yeah.
on there.
That's a good
The
point.
Blorva kit should be on the clog, in my opinion.
For sure.
I,
For
I don't
sure.
know, like if they didn't add it to the Zuck helm, okay, but like they added to the Zuck helm too, so like you may as well just throw it on the clog. It's a pretty cool grind to go for. It was really fun for me when I went for it, so they should just add it.
Yeah, other cosmetic kits are on there. The Fang kit from 500s is on there. That's a clog slot.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Let's touch on group loot bosses. That's another point.
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna kickstart this one. So we have a few group bosses right now that are amassable bosses. So what we're talking about here is something like with the Wildy bosses or like Nex or regular Nightmare, where you can go with a bunch of friends and just kill the boss. I'm probably in the minority here in terms of the HLC, but I actually like that. I think it's kind of cool. I know I'm an Ironman and I should technically stand alone. I know I'm most likely being a hypocrite, but I think it's fun going with the boys and killing. I was gonna say Nex, but that's a bad example. But going to kill like Callisto or killing Nightmare. I remember on Nightmare release with the clan we did a mass and it was kind of fun. And I feel like Jagex is gonna be pushing that more in the future. Look at Huey, for example. And I feel like that might happen one day to Corp, and that's my statement there. That is a little bit controversial, I would say.
Are you for it, or do you just imagine that's going to happen and you're remain unbiased?
I'm not touching Corp in case that does happen, because if it does happen, I would probably full send Corp. That looks kind of fun, doing duos or something with friends.
Yep.
And I would like to see it happen too. I know, like for example, Ginny would probably like screaming right now when he's listening to this podcast. But I think it would be cool. I'm for it.
I don't know why
And
Ginny would
I'm
be.
biased. I just want to know I'm biased. I have too much with Corp kills.
Yeah.
Mention that too.
Didn't Ginny do a bunch of alting with multiple alts, specking it down for a while before it got patched?
I don't know if he did, but
Yeah.
maybe. But he did work hard for his
For sure. No, and I mean I've worked pretty damn hard for the little corp I've done in relation to Ginny. I mean he did 19k. I've done 4 point something k, but yeah, no, I think this is kind of the mindset shift I've had toward the game. It's like, I like these classic methods. It feels old school. Corp has been dumbed down in a way. I actually kind of enjoyed Corp when it really was a defined meta of like specking it down and you needed these sort of like weapons and then, you go in for the actual kill. I like that balance. Now it's a little bit shifted and it's, what is it, like 10 kills an hour now?
Yeah, I've heard 9.8 to 10 from what Ginny told me.
So that's a huge upgrade from what it used to kind of feel like, which was like around 5. You could probably milk out 6 or whatnot back in the day, but like 10 kills.
And what's crazy too, I was talking to Ginny about this. He doesn't talk, he just like chats, but it's fun chatting with him. He knows so much. But we were talking about how like corp boosting back in the day was like 12 to 13 kills an hour with alts. And even then today we're at 10 kills an hour with no alts.
Yeah.
And even if we do massable corp, the only thing that will change is you'd use alts to spec down, and it'll be the same thing as it was pre, like in terms of like efficiently killing corp. Obviously, people might not do that. So use two alts to spec down corp, and you maybe get 14 kills an hour. So we're talking about like a 30-40% decrease in terms of 40-30% devaluation, which is not as much as you would think it is, because you still want to do the most damage yourself. Because I would assume it'll be damage based drop potential.
So yeah, let me so when you're doing duo or whatnot, is it just the loot's going to the MVP or is it a split loot? What would you want?
I would assume split loot. So that way, because otherwise it would be equivalent to having irons being a main where you just like boost and have
exactly
the most. Yeah, I would think that would be silly.
Me too.
It's better to do split loot with damage based.
I'm a huge fan. I think it's so fun. And I don't know if it's just because I've gotten old. I got 2 kids, and like my perspective of like playing RuneScape is a little altered these days. But like Callisto, like going to do like not max F Callisto, you're not doing 150 kills an hour, but like Callisto with like 4 or 5 of your buddies just going in there and just hitting it for a few hours with a few beers on a Friday night. Like that's a good time. I think that like there's a place for those things in the game, and I think a vast majority of the player base would actually benefit from those changes. Um, but I think the biggest issue, especially with the HLC in our game, is so many people are worried about devaluation, and I don't think devaluation is something that should be like this huge component of consideration when you're talking about making changes to the game that are better for 95% of the player base. I'm a big fan of group loot. I think that it would hurt like the alting community and stuff like that, or boosters, and that sucks because I know people rely on that income for things like implings and whatnot. But I think it would be a fun alternative way to do the content.
You know what another group boss I would love to see? This is my own personal take. I
Mm-hmm.
think they should wipe normal Nightmare from the game entirely and just make it so it's Fasani's, and make it so Fasani's is that center, like where normal Nightmare is, where you normally enter Nightmare, that just becomes Fasani's and just wipe it. That's maybe is a hot take, but what I would love to see is Fasani's being able to be grouped up to like 5 people, and none of the mechanics, none of it scales. It's all the same fight, and with the same drop rates. I mean, okay, the drop rates is a separate thing. Drop rate should be increased across the board, but it shouldn't have any sort of like scaling to it. It's just like if you want to go duo Nightmare with your Ironman buddy, you can go do it, and it's the Fasani's version of it. I think that would actually be really cool. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't see why not.
I'm
It's
all for
interesting though.
adding accessibility. Yeah.
It's interesting that like you might think that like regular Nightmare is dead content, but it's actually, as a clogger's perspective, it's actually still good to do. Uh, the real one, I'm shouting out this guy again. He calced statistically that when you're missing the jar and one item, it's more efficient to do Mass Nightmare than Fasani,
Jesus
because the
Christ.
jar rate in Fasani is so rare
So stupid.
compared to
Stupid.
regular Nightmare. And one guy in our clan, Carry, that's actually what he's doing. He was missing the Inquisitor top and the jar, and he was just sitting in masses. And he was like showing the screenshots. He's basically seeing like a bunch of different types of people, like farming capes, just like Dragon Mace. It's really content, and he ended up getting his Inquisitor top from the masses too.
Well,
I guess it
well,
worked out for him.
if they were to make it so you could do up to 5-man Fasanis, I mean, you could be doing 5 times more kills per hour.
That would be
Well,
sick.
it would be slightly
I
different,
wonder how
but
fast.
and the drop rates would remain the same, so you're still getting drops the same rate you'd be getting them in like solos, basically. In fact, solos would probably actually be more efficient just because of like the lack of downtime. But you could get a jar 5 times faster, or the pet or whatever, if they were to kind of change that. They could rebalance some rates if they were to implement something like this. But I think doing group Fasanis would be actually such a pleasure. I think it would just be so fun. It's the same fight, so everything becomes easier, when you get up to 5-man, if you wanted to do that. I think that's actually how I like the game being in like group settings. Like I love Nex, for example, being like there's problems with Nex. I think the downtimes is way over the top. There's obviously some other imbalances, but ultimately the fight is the exact same in any scale. And there's some other annoyances I have with it, like null damage and all that shit. But like basically, the more people you add in, the easier time you're going to get. And all the drop rates remain the same. They're all static. The boss HP is all the same. It's static. It's great. And that's how I personally like raid encounters and boss encounters. That's what I would optimally have it. It would be the same with Tob. I would love it if Tob was a one set scale, maybe the scaling of like a 3-man, like however that is. So when you're bringing in a 5-man team, the raid genuinely is easier. It doesn't scale up somehow. It's just like I feel like the scaling up is so stupid. It just doesn't make sense mathematically to be doing this. Like it should actually be an easier time bringing in more people. I don't know. That's my take.
I don't know if you can correct me, JT, but it's a very technical question, but what's the, like when you add players in Tob, it does scale, but isn't the health still greater in terms of HP per player in 5-mans compared to 4s and compared to 3s? I don't know the
I don't. I'm
numbers.
primarily 95%, 96% of my tops have all been trios. I'm not quite sure. I know things definitely change, like maiden crabs and stuff like that, when you go up in scale. But I'm not sure as far as HP percentages on the boss.
Yeah, but that's just my base philosophy. Is I think bosses, raids, everything across the board should be one set scaling. and then the way you go up. Now, raids can be a little bit different. You know, if there's invocations, for example, or chambers, you're scaling something up and you actually intentionally want it to scale. Maybe there's some exceptions. But generally speaking, bosses that are grouped, I think should all be the same. It's like Callisto. Like imagine you were in Callisto and like the more people you brought in, it just like raises its HP and defense for no fucking reason. Like this is stupid. Like the reason we're in here is to just annihilate it.
That would defeat the purpose of doing it.
Yeah, it just defeats it. That's exactly how normal Nightmare was. If you did a
I think
5-man versus an 80-man, it felt the fucking same. It was just like, this is so stupid.
I think Normal Nightmare was just a failure in general. We could just say what it was. Like, just accept the L. But I do agree that was. I feel like they learned a lesson from Nightmare. I hope they did. I hope they have like a lessons learned PowerPoint or something in Jagex HQ, and they just look at that every time they do a new update. I don't know what their process is, but
yeah. Okay, let's touch on mega scaling briefly. It sounds like we already kind of touched on it a little bit ago. It sounds like they fixed it. It sounds like all three of us were against it. Actually, I haven't actually heard LGR's take on this.
The thing is that it's always there's a difference between mega scaling where you do literally nothing besides like the last 40 health of Ohm Head, and then mega scaling where you're doing like a 3+ whatever number and you're actually contributing to the fight. Like I'm not against doing like boosting in that sense. I just didn't like the idea that you could be like a level 40 Ironman with a like U short bow and just finish Ohm and get 60% purple chance. But the changes they did they did 2 changes. The second change they did, I think, was a good change overall.
So is it now pretty much fixed? I want to.
I don't know exactly. I'm not involved there.
Okay.
It's not fixed, but it is in a much harder position. Like you definitely can't just go in there with a U short bow and get purples transferred to you. That does not function anymore.
Okay.
So my issue with mega scaling is fixed. Somebody I would consider probably one of my best friends. Jay does 5+ 95s on a regular basis for money. It's fantastic money, fantastic GP an hour. And, there's Ironmen that participate and actively join those raids and do things on them. So it's possible for Ironmen with late game gear to go in and still do these raids and get good purple rates an hour. Without full leeching. My issue, and I think a lot of people's issue with mega scaling has always been this 47 combat hardcore Ironman with 4 T-bows and a Kodai just trying to get a deck scroll still. Like I think that's silliness. It makes sense to me.
Yeah. No, my main issue has always just been very simple. It's the funneling of points from one account to another. That was the whole problem. I don't care if if you fished for fucking 4 hours in a raid and you made a bunch of points that way. Fair game. But as soon as points come from another player and funnel into a different account of your choosing, that's when it goes off the rails.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. I agree with that.
Okay.
I mean, the same thing applies too for like CA boosting. Like you can do 1+1 kits in Toa where you literally do nothing, and someone else just carries you.
Yeah. Then
hopefully they address that next. I don't think so, but it's harder to fix that. But
that's just one of the things with group content. I mean, it's
hot take.
The territory. Yeah.
I'm a fan of that. I think it's good. I think if you don't have any value to those accomplishments and you want to give somebody in-game money, like GP, like you give somebody 100 mil. I don't know what the prices are, but let's say you give somebody 100 mil to do a CA in Toa for you. Cool beans. All you're doing is funneling GP to another player in a game. Like you're transferring in-game wealth to another player to do something in-game. I think that's cool. I think that's player economy. I think there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I think it gets a little bit shadier when it's like the Ironman thing, and that's only because, and this is one of the trade-offs with having Ironman participate in group content in general, which I think the pros completely outweigh the cons. But there is somewhat of like, okay, is it really fair for an Ironman to be getting these achievements when a main carried him, or even another Ironman? It's like you're supposed to be doing a solo game mode. But ultimately, I don't care enough. I think if you're gonna allow team content for Irons, it's just what's going to happen. If there's some sort of CAs involved or some kits involved, it's just the way it happens, and I'm okay with that. Okay. Last point on this first segment, we're covering the first segment still, is, by the way, I'm totally about this. I have all fucking day, so we can talk all day. Stricter back then, because high score integrity. the game mode was fresh. So let's hear this. This is talking about Ironman game mode. I want to hear your points on this, guys.
Yeah, so I basically wrote that. JT and I were like on voice. We were talking about the Ironman integrity, and we are trying to like question ourselves on why it's disintegrating. I guess the mega scale fix was a good change, but and I think what we came up with was that back in the start of the Ironman game mode, the mods were very very strict in terms of the game mode. They were like they banned Bone Saw Bam for shop trading, which today people do and no one cares about. Um, and how do we want to get this integrity back? That's my first question. Like, they removed Slayer boosting, they fixed court boosting and stuff like that. Like, where do we want to draw the line essentially for Ironman integrity?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, for example, if I do a chambers with my buddy that's a main, is that is that okay? I'm an Ironman. I should be alone. Should I be doing solos? Should I be doing solo top for my purples? Should I only be allowed to solo Toa? Like, where do we draw the line? What is okay in terms of Ironman?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have like a take per se.
JT, do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a hard take. I definitely think it's odd, and I think I mentioned this earlier with just integrity and the weird lines they draw in the sand. I don't personally have any qualms with people, as long as you're not like using something like a main account to transfer things onto your Ironman. I think that's where like it's definitely problematic. I don't know. I think with high scores, I think back then they were really, really stringent with things, and I think now that we look at the game is where it's at nowadays. I don't know if like they take the Ironman game mode as seriously as they used to, or if they ever will. Like, I don't know. I'm just curious because we're about to get new high scores, right? We're about to get the new collection log high scores. Are we going to see weird lines in the sand drawn there? Are we going to see people getting banned for doing certain things? Like, I don't know. It was just kind of like one of those like talking pieces. We were like, man, like, where has the game mode gone? Kind of situation.
Yeah. I think
I don't recognize this game mode anymore from when I started. To be frank, like, I find that a lot of the bosses, a lot of the changes that have happened in the last few years have made it a lot easier in terms of sustaining the Ironman game mode. Like, I've never had any issues with supplies. I've never had any. I've just been doing whatever I want. Basically a main, but I can't use dragon darts. Like, that's literally what I've been doing.
Blood shards are a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and blood shard. Fuck blood shards, man. That's a whole topic on its own.
Dude, don't worry, you can kill the giant blob soon.
Oh, bro.
The gelatin.
That was yeah.
Yeah, I think they make good changes. One of the things that I always had a problem with was like Slayer alting. It's not completely removed, but they make really good strides toward making it. I mean, I was impressed with the dev team to make it so aggro pots couldn't be used by other players in order to, make it so your Iron Man kind of gets the aggro benefit from it. I think
that's smart.
That was a phenomenal change because, I think it was like a post from like DK who was trying to like take advantage of it. So something like, get a main to have a bunch of aggro pots or whatnot. And then his Iron Man never needs to do like mixology basically, and he can just take advantage of those. But it's like, no, you as the Iron Man need to actually have used the goading potion for it to work functionally. And I think those are really great changes. You're right about getting to a certain point in endgame where, I mean, every boss just shits out supplies. I think that just kind of comes naturally when you're a maxed Iron Man. Things are just a lot easier to sustain. Now, if you're going for like 200 mil all, it's a different story and trying to do it efficiently. You're still constantly needing to do like herb runs and constantly needing to like make money for certain skills and stuff. That's a different thing. But yeah, I don't know. I think some of it comes with, I mean, I've seen Scott VC's Callisto log. Jesus fucking Christ. You're just sitting there with like, just camping there in a 10-man team and just shooting bear, very, 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 very little effort with maximum elite clues per hour and just metric fuck tons of loot being shat out.
God, I love it.
It's just,
that's a whole topic on its own.
It's unbelievably busted, but at the same time, it's like that's just what the wilderness has become, and people are okay with it. I think it's just like you do anything in the wilderness, it just shits out supplies. Anything you do just shits it out, and it's like, all right. I guess that's just kind of what the game modes. I mean, it started with Rev Caves. I remember when I was camping that shit, it was like every moment you're not in the caves felt like you're just losing money. You're just like, you need to be there because it's so powerful. And it's the same addiction that people get with Callistoing. Like, when you're not doing Callisto, it's like, why am I not doing this? This is so busted in every sense of the word. Like, I need to be doing this nonstop, basically. It's like those imbalances with the game, I think, are like unhealthy and they need to be addressed, but ultimately they won't. And I'm not going to fucking lose sleep over it and try to like waste my energy trying to like change things like that. I'm like, whatever. This is just what the game's become.
I think the Callisto issue is it's so vast. I think we should definitely talk about it in depth. But
It's on the
I think
list, but
it's a huge it is a way bigger issue than just this feels like this is the best. There's so much that goes into why Callisto's a problem. Wilderness in general, in my opinion.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's dive into Callisto a little bit. I wanted to share my piece with it. One is, I don't like it when there's any meta, long-term meta, for example, that requires being out in the wilderness. I'm just
fully agree.
I'm just against it. If it doesn't have anything related to PvP, I don't think there should be ever any long-term meta that's out there. So what I mean by long-term is it's okay to have a Void Waker. It's something that's completable in a relatively short amount of time, compared to something. But as soon as it's, oh, you want to go for 200 mil in this skill? Well, now it's Wilderness. So Chaos Altar. I'm completely against Chaos Altar. It's fucking stupid. It's broken. It's a skill that's out in the wilderness just to bait people to lose their bones. It's just fucking stupid. Fundamentally flawed. The other thing is clue scrolls being the best out there. I think never in any... It can be okay to have maybe something that's close, but I think any clue scroll related thing should be outside of the wilderness entirely. Like, we should not be baiting people that want to just do clues all day to feel obligated to go out in the wilderness. I think that's flawed. And people even agree with this take. I mean, even people that are into PvP and kind of want this sort of predator versus prey, even they hold on to the view that, yeah, the wilderness really shouldn't have any other incentive other than like good GP per hour. Like, good GP per hour is enough. Like, that's enough to incentivize people to go out there. There's other ways to make GP, but if you want to make, the most GP or something, then you can go out in the wilderness and have the high risk, high reward. Maybe not most, there's other ways you can do next or whatnot, but just like raw GP sort of. I'm okay with that ultimately. Like, if Callisto didn't have meta for clues and it was just the GP, it was just going out there with your friends or whatnot in a 10-man and just milking loot, that would be much healthier in my opinion than also on top of that being the elite clue meta, which is not just the elite clue meta, it's the master clue meta, it's the collection log meta, it's everything. It's just all wrapped up in this wilderness-based activity, which I'm against.
Okay, I'm gonna jump into it then. So I'm gonna introduce it first. So, I mean, last time I came on here, it was like a year and a half ago, and Callisto meta it was okay for irons, but it wasn't actually that good. But since then, there's so many changes that just made the meta absolutely broken. Like, for example, the 1 hour drop timer on clues, which is a whole separate discussion we can have later on.
Yeah.
But that made it so that before then, you had to do Callisto with 10-man. We had a queue system, and you'd get a clue, you'd type clue, and you just run away and solve your clue and come back. But with that 1 hour timer, you'd basically just permanently be juggling your clues in the room, which was amazing because you could basically be AFKing all day, and whenever the session ends, you'd solve all your clues for the next day. And so that was a big change. And on top of that, a few months later, they lowered the respawn timers for all Wildy bosses for some reason. And that respawn timer reduced by 15 seconds to 6.2 or 6.8. So it was a significant change. So those two updates together made it so if you're doing 10-man Callisto with people that had like good gear, obviously I'm not talking about rune crossbows, I'm talking about shadows or the scepters, you'd be able to push above 150 kills an hour. And we've actually pushed above that too with thralls and some spellbook swaps, some very more sweaty stuff. But 150 Callisto kills an hour is 3.1 elites an hour, which is nuts.
Fucking A. I
The
didn't even
best
know it was
method
that
before
crazy.
that.
Yeah,
you were talking about it in a ramble, and you were saying like 2 elites an hour, and I remember thinking to myself, he doesn't know.
I don't know, yeah.
And so that's 3.1 elites an hour, and on top of that, you're getting 7 mil GP an hour in terms of like raw loot.
Dear God.
And you're getting Void Waker pieces, and you're getting EHB, you're getting like basically free boss kill counts.
Jesus Christ, that's out
And
of control.
that's already pretty much very OP. We can all agree on that. But what was happening for like 3 months for me is there was a very low PK activity in the Wildy. Like what we did is we basically had alts that we would be playing on the side that would defend us in the caves. Because a lot of PKers would try to rag us, but there would be like 2 or 3 bad PKers, I'll call them. So if we had like 5 or 6 alts, we can hold them off, and eventually they'd give up.
Mm-hmm.
So we were potting every day, 1,000 to 1,500 kills a day, which is insane. Like you're getting 20, 30, sometimes even 40 clues in a day on the floor, and then you'd spend your whole evening solving them, and then you'd repeat the cycle. Now, one thing that I was doing, because I was working from home, so I would turn on auto retaliate, turn off augury, and that was a 6-minute AFK timer of just killing Callisto, because I would auto
Oh
retaliate.
my
Dude,
god.
the pheasant
My
hat
work
mark.
productivity skyrocketed, by the way. My manager was impressed. Yeah. And that gets kind of dull after a bit. And eventually there was like a specific clan that started really, really camping us, and we were not really able to fight them off because they had like significant numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really like hurting my mental health, honestly, because you get kind of burnt from the game after a while when all you want to do is Callisto.
And
And
then
when there
doing
was no
anything else
team,
feels like a waste of time too, because it's so powerful. Like it's such a
well, I was
powerful
doing
method.
like my clog grinds on the side because I was not clue locked, but someone like Marnie or Basilogist, they have nothing else to do besides elite
Yeah,
clues.
yeah.
So they burnt hard. And by the way, like side tangent, the top page cloggers are mostly just burnt from clogging right now. Marnie, Basilogist, Valor, they all burnt. They're all Basilogist like actually burnt. But Marnie and Valor, they're skilling, and Tortunama finished the clog except for clues, and now he's going for 200 mil all because he just can't be asked doing thousands of hours of elites. So it's kind of sad. Just random side tangent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, like I remember just doing like 10 hours straight of Callisto, then solving elites for like 4 or 5 hours, going to bed and restarting the cycle. And
Yeah.
like that, not healthy. Straight up, my mental health went downhill. It was really bad. Eventually, I decided like, okay, I'm not actually having fun anymore. I'm just grinding elites. So that's when I like just put my foot down and just fully quit Callisto. I deleted my Callisto server. I just fully walked away. And honestly, I'm glad I did because I would have probably quit the game if I kept doing it. But there's some gamers that are still going today, by the way. So
Mm-hmm. No, that's really illuminating. I didn't realize how
it's
powerful it
insane.
really was. 7 mil raw GP, basically an hour on top of basically full AFK, on top of 3 elite clues an hour. Like that is
And like I was
just
getting
ridiculous.
DMs daily from people begging me for invites. Some guy offered me GP to invite him, and I ignored everyone because I didn't want to have the chance of leaking a
Yeah,
PK or
yeah.
something in the Discord. It was tough. It was rough to manage.
No, and so I like just going back. Like I think genuinely, like the only reason you guys are doing that, you really don't want any part of wilderness activity. Like it's just it's a shit show being out there long term. It just is. Like for anybody that's not basically for even the PKer side of it. Generally, the PKers aren't just sweating, fucking 15 hours a day just trying to kill
Some
people.
were. You'd be
But it's like
surprised.
just being out there is just draining in every sense of the word. And
Oh, big time. I agree.
when
Yeah.
you have you have no desire to even be in the wilderness ultimately, but it's just the meta for something that's non PvP related. You just want to do clue scrolls. Like you just want to have fun grinding out clues, and now you got to deal with this garbage, and it's super OP. So every other method feels like it's not even worthwhile doing. Yeah, what do you think? Should there be a fix to it? Do you think? Because
I had a proposal, and I'm just also going to mention there's another elite clue meta which is really cracked, but it's basically you do Sarachnis with 12 alts using shadows, and even that is not as good as Callisto for elites. So just keep that in mind how messed
that's
up that
for
is.
mains, obviously.
For main, yeah, for
Yeah,
mains you
yeah.
can't do that on Iron. I had a proposal for elite clues a few months ago, like right around when I burned from Callisto. I made a Twitter post and a lot of backlash, but some of the ideas there I think are like all the ideas might have been a little harsh, but some of them were kind of good.
Mm-hmm.
So one example I had was, and Marnie actually had a similar example, which is you could trade in a quiver instead of getting the splinters or the pet chance, you can get straight up an elite clue from the quiver.
Hmm.
So that would still be around a little bit around the same as Callisto, but you'd have to be like a god tier gamer to maintain 20-minute Coliseum runs,
Yeah.
and it would not be AFK, obviously. Another thing I liked was increasing the clue chances from raids, from expert raids.
Mm-hmm.
I propose a guarantee elites. I do think that might have been a little too much. But even if you guaranteed an elite per raid completion, you still would be barely at Callisto raid. You'd be tied to Callisto, essentially, doing max efficiency 5-man hard mode tops or 300 TOAs, which is... It just shows you how messed up the Callisto, how OP it is, basically. I also like the idea of adding elites to Jad completion or maybe a Fire Cape trade-in, and potentially, and this is a hot take, potentially adding a master clue to Infernal completion. So that would give diversity to clue scroll solving as well.
Mm-hmm. No, I actually remember kind of suggesting that years back. Just I like the idea of trading in a Fire Cape for an elite clue. That makes sense, rather than the pet chance, rather than the toggle. And I also had kind of suggested potentially with Infernal Cape, just straight up, it would be like the one place where you could actually just trade in for a straight up master.
And like it wouldn't be that good too. Like even if you're like a gamer doing like 60-minute Infernal runs, that's a master an hour.
Yeah, this is, let me cross this by you. I mean, do you think? Because I'm totally with you, adding more diversity to getting elite clues. I've always been a huge proponent of that. I've definitely taken a step back from just playing new accounts. I'm not as focused on that whole point anymore. One of the things I'd love to see is them revert what they propose some really solid elite clues from Sepulcher, which I fucking loved, and then they just turned their back on it and made it so it was like half the rate instead. I was really upset by that. I feel like they should go back on that. But what if wilderness bosses scaled so not everyone's getting the 1 in 50 elite clue chance, but it's being split similar to the uniques themselves? I mean, would that be an appropriate change? So like the meta really exits the wilderness? Like,
it would exit if you did that. It would just die right away.
No, of course.
Honestly,
that makes me feel gross, so... man. That makes me feel so gross.
I'm just asking you guys, like, because in my opinion, I don't think that would be a bad move, and that's simply because of the philosophy I hold, which is I don't want any long-term meta being out in the wilderness that's not PvP related.
Yeah, I don't think the solution is like nerfing it though. It's just my opinion, right? I think Callisto has its place. Right, and it sucks that it's the best option, but I think the solution as a whole is we need to standardize sources for elite clues. We need to, not we, but Jagex needs to relook at the places that are supplying elite clues and standardize it so that there's a more like vast array of clue sources, not just for elites but other clues as well. That is just, it feels more natural and like you can go do other things instead of feeling locked to 1 or 2 pieces of content. I mean, for most mains, you're doing Seracnus, Callisto, or Shades for elite clues. That's like your 3 options. Like, there's other pieces of content. I think the Quiver trade-in is probably my favorite one yet because you're sacrificing a good portion of your GP an hour doing that content, and you're getting an elite clue out of the trade-in. And I think it's a good shift, but I don't know. I really just think that they need to make elites more common from other places and say, okay, this is what we want the average amount of elites for you to be able to get within certain pieces of content an hour, and then just full blanket send that across all the pieces of content that provide you elite clues. Instead of like nerfing things to pull people away from other pieces of content. Well, just personally.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I think the main issue with Callisto is just one item, the Ring of Wealth. That's if that wasn't a thing, it would still be good for irons, of course, but wouldn't be as OP as it is.
So what if they just made it so, I mean, just a simple change of making it so elite clues are actually 1 in 200, and with the Ring of Wealth, it's 1 in 100. So, because, and I'm not trying to paint the argument like it's unfair, but it's 20 minutes. It's simply, okay, Callisto is out of control OP, what you guys have told me. Like, out of control. Like, 7 mil raw GP to basically do fucking nothing. On top of the best elite clues per hour. On top of never actually even risking the elite clues. You just drop them. So there's very little risk. I mean, you're just risking a little bit of GP potentially, but it's like...
You risk almost nothing, by the way, bro.
Yeah, like this is out of control, broken, and like one is just the fact that Ironman can do this in the first place. Like imagine they made it just so you can't even do this on an Ironman because but this would have been fundamentally against the Ironman mode. I actually like that you can group boss on Ironman. I've actually been a fan of that. But making this much money is really game breaking in a way. And again, we've kind of seen the game already break over the years. And so these things aren't even as egregious as they really should be seen as. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about just making it so the elite clue rate just across the board isn't that fucking high? Like, holy shit.
I remember Hey Jace a long time ago made a tweet, and I believe there was all backlash back then too, but he made a tweet of standardizing elite clue. I would personally just fully agree with that tweet. And like I was talking to JT about this, but if we go back on why clue sources are so different, like why is Sarachnis bits for elites? It's a random ass boss, mid-level boss. Why is that the best meta?
Mm-hmm.
And I think to the core, the reason for that is because the JMods that work on the boss, they determine whatever drop rates they see fit. And they might not think that you can kill Sarachnis 80 times an hour. So they think 1 in 60 is reasonable. But they don't they don't actually calculate what the clue rates per hour would be. Maybe they do, I don't know. Speculating here.
Well, back when that was made, I think it was 2019 or something.
I don't remember the date. Probably
2019 or 2020.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like that. Just no JMod has that mindset. I mean, they might kind of see it a little bit now, just because there's been so much talk about it. But back then, nobody gave a fuck about the few handfuls of people that are trying to complete the goddamn collection log or go for clue scrolls. I mean, I was part of it. I was trying to be the vocal. I was trying to be that mouthpiece to try to get some change made for elite clues. I think the precedent of setting it so elite clues are now 20 minutes is a bit extreme. I think 20 minutes is probably the absolute limit. I would kind of want to see them kind of standardize. And I'm not saying all bosses. I actually disagree with Hey Jace's take of just like across the board making it so you can do anything and get elite clues. I think sort of taking a step back from looking very, very narrowly at like how the game should be, which is just like, oh, you got to spend 30,000 hours doing clue scrolls, like, so we got to somehow like cater the game around it. I'm okay with there being a handful of methods that are all kind of around about the same hours. I liked the sort of like Sarachnis meta back then. This is years ago talking. I kind of like that sort of hour thing, or like the 40 minutes in like 40 and 70 minutes. I kind of like that range sort of. If it's going to be 20 minutes, that's okay. But again, just my own personal take is get all that shit out of the wilderness. Like, don't make it so there's any metas that aren't PvP related out of the wilderness, and then we can address other things. I'd like the fire cape trade in for an elite. I think that's appropriate. I think the quiver trade in for an elite is appropriate. I think even an infernal cape. An infernal cape trade in for a master potentially. I think there's a part of me that just doesn't accept it, just based on the premise of like master clothes had never been a direct source. Like there was never a direct source to get those. So I think even if an infernal cape was just an elite. Now, I would also let's just kind of move over tangents to like stackable clues. I mean, we've seen basically we have stackable clues in a really shitty form. And I want to just get your guys' take. Are you guys fully on board to get the kind of stackable sort of scroll boxes and still have the juggle tech potentially, but being able to just kind of hold scroll boxes on top of that? What are your thoughts?
I have zero issue with stackable clues. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think there's fear in me that Jagex is a big fan of just fumbling the ball and absolutely just dropping it when it comes to changing things like this. The 1 hour timer is huge. It's so nice. It's so big for hard clues and like suicides. Like it's fantastic. I think that stackable clues are a good thing. We just need to find out how to introduce them well, or just full send it and give it everybody an infinite stacking. I don't know. I think all of that comes with a big mentality shift from the RuneScape community though, because I think people are really glued to the idea that clues should be this distraction and diversion. And I don't think clues should be just a distraction and diversion. You have a large community of your game, or a large portion of your community of your game that absolutely love doing clues,
Mm-hmm.
like as their primary piece of content. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Personally, I think stackable clues we should. I see no issue. I don't see how they would, break or ruin anything.
LGR.
I'm okay with it too. I just don't want it to be infinite. One proposal I liked, and I don't remember who said this, but would be to either tie it to a reward, that would be probably the ideal solution, or where every 100 clues solved of a specific tier, you gain +1 to the stackable clue count.
Hmm.
So if you've solved 2,000 elites, you can stack up to 21 elites. And the other thing too is I want the 1 hour timers on the floor to stay. Just because of the new techs that were discovered thanks to that meta, like the Sherlock skipping for elites, the triple master cryptic skips that was a thing before, but just made it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
The suicide tech is amazing, by the way, especially for avoiding PKers. And the Fury skip as well for hards is a really cool method as well. So
Yeah.
as long as the 1 hour stays, like for me, I'm happy. If Jagex really decides to make clue stacking infinite, then so be it. I'm not gonna start crying or anything. I
The
would probably even take the buff.
the more I think about stackable clues, the more I'm actually on board with it. Because again, I was always a person that was against stackable clues, but then they added the floor timer thing. We're not getting a reversion of that, so it's just like it is what it is. And at this point, I'm fully on board with stackable clues, just to standardize it, make it feel nicer, make it not feel like so private servery of just having 50 clues on the ground.
Kind of crazy how it changed, right? The mentality of stackable clues.
Totally. I mean,
Took a
well,
few leagues.
I mean, it's just everything has already been drastically devalued. I mean, just when I was going for clues, the meta was Seracnus. It was like 70 minutes for an elite clue, and that was kind of cool. And whenever you got a clue, you had to go do it. So there wasn't this thing of like, oh, I'm just gonna camp at Jellies my whole fucking work day and then just have like 70 fucking hard clues on the ground, and just do them all. Like that's out of control. It's just it is what the
Yeah.
game is now. It's the same thing with Callisto. Just keep milking Callisto 3 elites an hour. Just drop them whenever you do them whenever you want. Like this, it's already not a distraction and diversion. None of this is. But now it's just this like stupid middle ground that just feels terrible. Not terrible. It really doesn't feel terrible, but it could feel so much nicer. Let me just rephrase that way. But I am on board genuinely with just it being infinite stack. Send it right now. I think the careful treading of like, okay, well, when you start off on your account, you can only hold 2 easies or something. Like, dude, everyone's going to keep fucking juggling then. Like, the whole purpose of adding the stackables is to get rid of the juggling entirely. You could still do the juggling. Don't get me wrong. Like, I like that you said, you want to keep the tech that's evolved around it. And I think that's totally fair, totally appropriate. And I think that's actually a really functionally good way to keep it going if you want to. But you still have the scroll boxes, so you can just pull out the next scroll and you just stack up as many as you want. So be it. I'm at the point where I would be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, we have options that are coming out, right? You have an infrastructure that's being created right now by Jagex. The collection log high scores are coming out. We're getting that interface and the tiers, like was it the staff in the book, right? Or the staff with the whatever. But we have those tiers already being added into the game. Why not just assign a stackable clue limit to those tiers? It's something that is going to it's coming into the game. It's going to happen. So, I mean, you already have that there. And the people who are going to have higher slots are going to be the people who are doing clues anyway. So the people who are higher up on the collection log high scores and have those higher tiers unlocked will be able to stack more clues.
Yeah, I think there's just a part of me that just resists it in a way, just because I think part of it comes from how I feel about CAs in general. Just having these weird perks that really don't have much to do. Like, for example, I mean, I don't know, there's perks from CAs that you just kind of feel obligated to do CAs before you really do something. Like, for example, if you want to hunt an imbued heart efficiently, it's just like you have to do the elite tier or else you're trolling. You're a clown. And I think just gatekeeping things behind these arbitrary things of like, oh, you have to hit a certain amount of clogs just doesn't. It's like, it's cool in theory. I think there's always a part of me now though that's just like, just don't, just make it so. I don't know. This is again my take, but I just see it as just across the board. Just give us stackable clues. It's another thing, kind of how I see the like coin pouch thing with thieving. First of all, I'm just against coin pouches. I think they're stupid. Just get rid of them already. But
I agree.
it's just like, you just have this arbitrary thing where it's like, oh, you can only hold 28. Now you can hold 56. Now you can hold 140. It's like, what is happening? Can we just stop with this? Can we just make it so it's just infinite, or just get rid of the coin bag? Same thing, kind of how I see the scroll boxes, especially if it was like 5 or something. It just going back to my other point of like, the whole reason I want stackable clues is to get rid of the juggling. So as soon as there's some arbitrary limit, people will just bypass it anyway and just juggle them on the ground. And that's completely void. It's just like, okay, the whole point of this is now mute, because it's like we wanted to get rid of the juggling tech and we still have to use it if you actually want to still be efficient with your clue scrolls. I don't know.
Well, I think even if you have stackable clues, if the 1 hour timer persists for things like hards, you're going to be juggling clues anyway. Like that's going to be part of the tech.
Yeah, you'll juggle, but the nice thing will be like you can just pick them up and they'll go into a scroll box, and then if you want to, you can still do some of that tech by dropping them if you would like. But there's still the option of just having the maximum convenience of having this nice scroll box stack, where you just pull out the next one once you've completed one, pull out the next one if you want. But there still is that option to still do the Giga Sweat tech of all the weird stuff that LGR was just talking about. I like that there's that sort of trade-off. If you want to, you can still do the juggling, but there's a lot of people that just don't want to deal with it and they just want to have maximum comfort.
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, let me also take, because it sounds like you're not truly against it. Either of you are truly against it. If it just was infinitely stacked, you're just like, okay, you're not going to lose sleep over it, whatever. But is there any particular reason why you think that would be dangerous to have unlimited stack from the get-go for everybody?
The only concern I have, which I don't really care personally, but master clues, if you don't have a requirement of all the steps for the stashes, you can just perma stack those for life, basically. Which, to be fair, like, I'm okay with that. Why not? Very painful to drop a master clue. I remember doing it in the past. And also for someone like a skiller that's going for 200 mil Slayer, they have like 10,000 hard clue scrolls in the bank. That's kind of crazy. But like you said, I won't lose sleep. Beats me. If that gets released in a game, I'll actually be happy. It'll definitely motivate me to grind more clues. That's for sure.
Yep, I think I'm with you. I definitely held that view of like thinking it was kind of unfair. It came from a point of just trying not to drastically change the meta, but the thing is, the meta's already drastically changed, and I'm on board with let's get out of this middle ground zone. Let's get out of this gray area. Let's just go straight up for what we all want ultimately. Because I could see us just taking little baby steps to keep improving clue scrolls or making them slightly more standardized. And I'm just at the point where it's like, just take the massive leap where we're just done talking about it. It's like, okay, we've settled it. Like it's over. We don't need to make any further little micro steps to make it better. It's like just send it at this point. I don't know. It's the same
also,
thing.
Like the 1 hour timers, like that came out of absolutely nowhere. There was no poll, no this. The update dropped. I remember waking up on Wednesday, reading that update and going, what? And then I pinged in the Callisto Discord back then, like, guys, gear up. We have to figure out what the kills per hour now are.
Holy crap! Yeah,
That was like insane too, because I remember that morning, and I was working from home, and so we all get there, and everyone's like, "Wait, we don't have to leave. We just drop them." So everyone's just sitting there, AFK, auto retaliate on, killing Callisto, like chilling, just dropping the elite clues when we get them. And so people are like, "Oh yeah, who's bouncing, or when can I join?" Well, nobody's leaving for like 2-3 hours, so like the whole cycle that we used to be doing for Callisto like totally just changed.
Yeah,
so you would get a team in the morning, and they would just go.
Dude, teams were forming at 3 in the freaking morning my time. I couldn't compete.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Random tangent.
Even when collection log high scores come out, you don't think you're gonna try and be competitive in that aspect? With you said you liked being a competitive Ironman. Do you think collection log high scores and the different tiers will help that for you, or no?
No, I've just gotten out of the whole phase of caring about the competition with the game. It's
Touché.
just It's just because it's endless. It's like there's no. If it was like if they were to come out with a new. This is the only form of competition I would be obsessed with right now, and I'd actually play unhealthy hours. Would be a brand new official permanent game mode with just like some form of Ironman, like I don't know, a fucking Mithril Man or just a hardcore UIM or just something that comes out that's completely fresh, brand new high scores. I would rush to max on that and I would sweat. Like I think that would be a really fun thing to do. And I would get into my competitive nature with it. The thing is with collection log competition, it's like, no, it's just too much. It's endless, and I don't know. It's exhausting.
Log competition is hard. There's a lot of RNG, and you're competing against people that have full-time jobs, work from home, and they just play 15 hours a day. I've been losing my clog ranks for a long time now.
Yeah, it's depressing. Yeah, no, when I started losing my like clue ranks and stuff, I mean, even just my overall ranks, I was ranked like, I think I peaked at like 82 or something overall Ironman high scores. I lost that. It's like, I think I'm ranked 120 or something now, and clue ranks kind of going out the window. I'm like, I can't be bothered. Like it just, and the diminishing returns of getting third age plate legs. I mean, who knows how long it would take to get another. I mean, I think I've mentioned this on one of the casts just recently of just like, there's one element of Sae Bae I think I'd like to do, which is just like AFK it on the side and just go for the moon helmet. just because the third age plate body with the plate legs, with the kite shield, with the helmet of the moon would go giga. Like that would
That'd be sick.
That'd be
you should do it.
Fucking cracked. It's so many hours. It's stupid.
I hate that helmet.
It's one in 7,000 from Frost Naguas to get one key piece. So you're looking at like 2.8 million Frost Naguas plus a metric fuck ton of skilling just to go rate for the helmet, and then you could just not get it too.
And the wiki rates are not even like proper there. You'd have to like recraft what the best way is.
Yeah, oh my.
Because for all we know, maybe killing a mox is the best for the keys.
God damn.
You have to calculate.
Yeah.
It's an interesting number to calculate, but I don't have enough time in my hands to do that. Past LGR would have probably done that.
Yeah. Let's switch gears and talk about collection log high scores. Let's jump into that. JT, will you carry us in that?
Yeah, so this kind of goes against your kind of idea, but I talked to Mod Husky because I had some questions with him in regards to collection log high scores, and I don't know. It feels like it's really bare bones. They don't have the web dev team working on it at all, which kind of stinks. I don't know if you're familiar with the collection log website. Yeah, so I wish we had something like that was Jagex supported, so that you could go and say, oh, this is my buddy. Let me go to the collection log high scores on the RuneScape website, and I can see his collection log there. I talked to Mod Ash on Twitter before Jagex disappeared from there about that, and there's no intention of doing that. I really hope it's something they consider down the line, because I think it would be so awesome to have something that's Jagex supported and provided to us for that. That way we're not relying on some outside entity or external agency to be providing that data. But personally, they have like these rigid tiers, and I wish they were all percentage based. And I know you're not going to like that just because of the goal posting, but I think it would be cool, especially with the collection log being an ever growing thing. I think that it would be really nice if it was just like CAs and it would grow percentage wise to say, okay, this is, if you're adamant, this is the percentage, or if you're Rune, this is the percentage. And then the gilded, I think, is 90% of clogs completed, so that always rotates and expands with the game. But I'm just really excited. I think it's gonna be a really, really cool thing. I'm hoping we find some like random dude named Straw Farmer 42 who has like 1,480 slots for some reason, and no one's ever seen him before. No idea who he is. I just think that would be so exciting.
Yeah, I'm okay with just the bare bones system of just what the number is. Whatever number of collections you have is enough for the high scores. But I definitely see your point of it'd be cool if there was like some super system that just keeping track of everything and your most recent logs and everything. I doubt Jagex is going to spend any resources on that. I'm really surprised you wish that there was percentage based like CAs. See, you maybe heard my rambles. For a collection log, I am one of the people that just wants it to be very static. Like when you get 100 logs, you get the Roman numeral I on it. When you get to 1,000, it's X. When you get to 1,500, XV. And it just keeps going up. So that way there's incentive for updates to keep coming out, because then you can work your way to the next 100, milestone. And you're never going to feel like you've lost progress. That's one of the problems with percentage based. And that's the problem I have with CAs, is like this continuous loss of an achievement. And, if you're like in between Gilded and Rune or whatever, and just keep going back and forth, or Gilded and Dragon or whatnot, it's just like that, you logging out for a break, for 3 months, and then you come back and you've lost your thing. Like, it just never feels good. I feel like it's so much better. And I understand the thematics of going from bronze to dragon or Gilded or whatnot, but I feel like this is the perfect system to introduce something that's way less annoying long term. And it's very standardized in these. It's like, it's just going to feel so weird when you're going for, let me just pull up the tab. Like, there's 1561 clogs. If Gilded is like, 1470, it just went up to 1478. It just went up to 1489. Now it's like every single update just keeps shifting. It's like, holy shit. Can we just make it so it's like you're just working toward the next 100 and it keeps increasing? Again, there's so many positives to a system like this. It encourages updates rather than spite voting no, because you don't want to do a mid-level boss again. Like, I don't know, just.
I will say that that's a really good point. I definitely can agree with that more permanence is such a beautiful part of RuneScape. It's why I think skillers enjoy RuneScape, is because once you gain the XP, it's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I can definitely understand that. So I can't argue or debate that. It's just, that's a fair point. Totally understand your perspective.
Okay,
I do think, as far as the bare bones nature of the website stuff, understand that as well. I know I'm probably in the minority of people who want Jagex to try and add development time to something that really, I don't know if a lot of people would benefit from it, but it would just be a cool thing to look at other people like on the RuneScape high scores.
For sure. Okay. Well, I guess just the fact that you agree with me, I thought for some reason you knew my take on this already, and you were like against it in a way, and so that's why you're proposing your way. But like, there's a few pros to the whole thematics of bronze through Gilded or whatever. Like, don't get me wrong, like that, or that feels like right in a way, but I think there's just several issues with it, like I just listed. LGR, have any thoughts?
I'm okay with either or. Both your solutions, the JT and Seder, are good enough for me. I'm just excited to see it implemented, honestly. That's something I've been waiting for actual years. And I fully trust Mod Husky. Whatever he delivers, I'll be content with.
Yeah, it was proposed 5 years ago.
That's crazy.
It's a long time.
It's insane, yeah.
All right.
And I love the collection log website, by the way. I think it's a beautiful...
they nailed it.
Beautiful site. And just like a random tangent, I was watching one of your old videos from like 2022 where you were reviewing like old people's clog.
Mm-hmm.
You should try to do that more often, maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice time capsule.
For sure. Yeah, I think.
And you did the same thing with the boss high scores too. I remember.
Yeah.
It was fun rewatching the clog ones, because they're like, the people were so far from completion compared to today.
Yeah, I know.
It was really crazy, especially Basiligus's log. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I do need to get back on that. I said I would do it yearly, and that fell through. Okay, let's talk about Ring of Wealth.
The Ring of Wealth Eye. So I think that item in general is like super problematic because of how it functions in the wilderness, and that's why you see so many blue metas originate there. Primarily with like elites and hards. Like, the hard meta is Venator bow with a cannon. You go to Hellhounds in the wilderness, and there you go. You AFK that during work. It's ridiculous how many hards you get throughout your day.
So broken.
Yeah, it's absurd. So that's pretty much what irons do, right? And then mains, obviously, they're just doing natures and magpies and stuff like that. But I think that, and here's my solution to the Ring of Wealth Eye because of how OP it is, and personally, You can, give me your feedback, but I think the Eternal Ring of Wealth would be a really cool thing for them to implement down the road, where it also kind of functions like a Ring of Wealth eye does in the wilderness, but it functions outside of the wilderness as well. And you're not necessarily fixing the problem in the wilderness with that item, but you're now adding the ability per, like, let's say, I don't know, thieving gnomes is like 10 medium clues on the ground every hour. You now double that chance, so you're getting 20 medium clues an hour, and now you're competing with eclectic implings, but you remove 90% of the thieving XP you'd get from gnomes. So just something like that. I don't know, just it's hard to fix these problems. I'm not a game developer, but I know that I don't like doing eclectic implings.
Actually,
medium clues is a separate topic. I was very faithful. I was coping so hard that the gnomes would be meta, and I could just grind that for Greenlog. But when I really sat down and thought about it, it's hard for Jagex to balance it because, by the way, fun fact: heroes, you get elite clues, and if you're a skiller, it's actually efficient to do heroes and get passive elites for 200 mil thieving, as opposed to something like Callisto and then whatever the efficient rate is. I don't know what it is. I think it's artifacts with whatever.
Fascinating. I mean, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's a good experience, but the thing is that how does Jagex balance it? Because I don't care about experience on my side, but
let me just cross this by you because you mentioned one. Let me just briefly touch on the Ring of Wealth. In my opinion now, and I had been a proponent, like you could probably go back in rambles and hear me say the opposite of what I'm about to say right now, which, again, this is a separate time period. This is before the juggling tech. Because if we didn't have the juggling tech, going out and killing hellhounds would just, even with the current system, it would be way more obnoxious because you get your hard code and you got to dip immediately. So it's like you can't ever just set up at work and just shit out 70 hard clues over the next 3 hours. It's just like, it's not the same system back then. So it was kind of okay to have some really kind of busted methods out in the wilderness because there was no juggling. Now with the juggling, it kind of differs. But I'm at the point where it's like, dude, maybe just get rid of the double clue aspect in the wilderness. Just to get rid of that ability and make it so the Ring of Wealth eye just makes it so the rare drop table is enhanced. Like there's some cool other drops you can get instead, and just get rid entirely of that like double clue system. That's my own take, and that's again just coming back to the philosophy of like get the clue metas out of the wilderness. I'm sorry. Again, that's my own hot take. Some people might disagree, but I want to touch on the medium clues because if we came out with infinite stackable clues, all of a sudden Rogue's outfit, thieving gnomes, doubles it. All of a sudden thieving heroes and getting 2 scroll caskets whenever you get an elite doubles it as well. Like that
would be okay.
That sounds
I didn't even think about that. I had not even thought about the
I remember when the pickpocketing change came in, people were asking on Twitter to have the Rogue's outfit double the clues, and the responses to those tweets were god tier funny. But that alone would make gnomes equivalent to
that sounds
would be like
that's one of
Greenlog mediums right away.
that's one of the cool perks about getting the scroll boxes in the game, because the same thing with ham members, you go to hams and just you are just giga stacking, like holy fuck. Again, this would be something I would be completely against back in the day, but I've changed my view on it because it's like we're playing a different game now. So gnomes would be great. Heroes would be great. I think even, what is it? Warriors or paladins drop hards.
Wealthy citizens would be super chill for easies too, because they never move.
Yeah, dude, this would that would be the game changer, because I'm totally with you. Piro can fuck off.
Implings are not a fun meta, even on main accounts. In my I don't think Marnie likes spending what was it? Like, let me see. I'm gonna look it up just so I can let's see. What is the
last
picture
time I
he sent me?
checked for hards, it was like 700k per hard clue.
No, so Marnie sent me his Dragon Impling screenshot of his jars. And recently 60,708 Dragon Impling jars he's opened for 1,206 elite clues.
It's so messed up.
Yeah. So like that's not fun. I don't know. Let's look.
I mean, that is fun. The
Yeah.
the money, the cost isn't fun, but holy fuck, if you could just spam dragon implings, oh, that sounds fun as hell.
It's like 30 bill, right? Oh yeah, no. My mental math might be bad.
I'm not gonna do mental math because I'm a dumb redneck, so I'm gonna use a calculator.
Yeah, 30 bill sounds about ish.
Jesus.
But Marnie is like man, I had some intense discussions with him when I was on edibles, but he wasn't. But like he was explaining to me how he was boosting Corp on 12 alts, and his main account would be sitting at Sarachnis with a Blood Fury and the Arena boots, and that was equivalent to like 7 elites an hour for him because he would dump the GP he makes into Dragon Implings. And I was just thinking to myself, like, what the hell, man? This guy's like on another planet, dude.
One of the metas I wanted to start doing on Sae Bae before I like quit it was just setting up a cannon in Falador, just perpetually, just always having a cannon in Falador, just getting mediums. I have like again, this couldn't be super long term, but I have like 500,000 cannonballs on the account, so it's just like just have that perpetually running while I'm doing like bank standing skilling or whatnot, just skilling, just doing anything else, and just keep teleporting back to Falador and back to the bank, just loading it up with 60 cannonballs and just zero time. It's not exactly zero time, but for a time period, it feels like a zero time sort of medium. It's just like, oh, we saw a medium drop. All right, go pick it up. Go do the medium. Like just.
Man, that reminds me of a weird tech, the Venom tech about the lava dragons. I don't know if you remember that way back in the day.
Yeah.
Holy, that was so much fun, dude.
I remember when people found out about it, and any world you went to, any czars, you would just see people running around just venoming them and just trying to greenlog it before it got nerfed.
Oh yeah, the
That was a
Czars
fun
was
day.
insane because
Dude, yes.
DK was doing his Slayer task like that, just blow pipe one time on every single guy and just run around the whole place.
He was getting
Fucking nuts.
giga XP per hour too.
Yeah.
I remember.
You're one-shotting stuff. That's all it is. It's like that's ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was insane.
One of the rare cases of the abusers winning instead of the waiters winning.
Yeah.
Too many people did it for them to start banning people. So
So
that's another thing too. Like, how do you like what is ban worthy and what's not?
hmm.
Yeah, but that's a
Was
The
it?
whole,
sorry, I just
another
opened a
rabbit hole.
massive can of worms.
I'm all about it though. This is a can of worms podcast. So let's we've touched on mediums. It'll be solved when stackable clues come out. In my personal opinion, we can always have better rates. I mean, I think the Shaman Temple across the board should just be way better. I think any of those like fun little chests should be way better. Like what is that chest on Isle of Souls where you just run in there and keep getting fucking teleported out even at 99 thieving, which is stupid. So stupid. Sorry, when you're 99 thieving, you should not be getting teleported out of the Shaman Temple or that Isle of the Souls chest. I think the Isles of the Soul chest also drops mediums, or maybe I'm confused. But all of those little Easter egg chests, I think those should be so much better with clue rates because they're just fun Easter eggs and they're not efficient to really be doing. And giving good clue rates, things like that, I'm all about. Also, what the hell is up with Trouble Brewing rate being like 4,000 pieces of 8 for a fucking medium? Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, by the way, good job getting that nerfed for the early game iron.
No, that was not my fault. That was them coming out with a fletching mini game as soon. That's what caused it.
I saw that in the patch notes and I was like, oh my god, Satyr, you ruined it for
No, it
some
was definitely not me. It was purely about the fletching minigame, having a fletching minigame be very incentivized.
Just made me giggle.
to be totally fair, Trouble Brewing was broken. It was. It's just the weird thing. I mean, I wasn't losing sleep over it. I was definitely taking advantage of it on Big Bay for a little bit, but that is out of control. Like just one ticking
it was really
320 cooking XP drops just for chopping a tree. Like what the fuck is going on?
But yeah, Trouble Brewing is interesting. Honestly, there was when it first they first like updated it, it was popping. It was good. People were actively playing the mini game. It was a good time. But it's died again since then. So the time investment has skyrocketed once again.
I remember all the cloggers were going there, and there was like a bug to make stupid amount of wines.
Oh, the guy who got banned, yeah.
I think he like used a gravestone with with the is it the wine or the rum, and you were able to like smuggle them in. Oh yeah, that's what it was. You bought rum for 10 pieces of 8 from the shop, and you were able to smuggle them in and then dump them for your entire team to get 2 per rum.
Mm.
Oh,
So that's what the bug was. I remember all the cloggers were grinding that when that update dropped. Kind of cool.
Let's talk about Grandmaster clues. I'm kind of browsing through this. It looks like we've touched on a lot of the points. Grandmaster clues, is it time?
I think so. I think it'd be really cool. I think that a clue expansion. When was the last time we had one?
2019.
Like beginner clues? I don't know.
Yeah, I
When
mean,
was it?
I think that a clue expansion is needed for sure. I mean, maybe not needed, but definitely it's due.
Yeah, the last expansion was just Master, or no, sorry, not Master Clue. Master Clues is 2016. Mimics was 2019, and that's when they added all the. I guess the last actual clue update was the Elite Clue change. Finally, even though they were didn't even get it right the way they claimed it would be, but it's whatever.
Close enough. We'll take the W.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
take it, but I was still butthurt about them randomly just increasing the drop rate of the Ring of Nature and the
Lava Dragon Mask.
Lava Dragon Mask, just doubling it, just kind of without notifying anybody. Like those, that was a significant buff. Okay, and then just the 1 in 2932 rather than the 1 in 2750. Again, I understand how drop rates need to function that way, but don't say it's going to be something and it's just completely not.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I think the solution with Grandmaster clues is because I think everybody with clue expansion they have fear of like, oh my god, you're gonna add 3 items to medium clues or easy clues, and now I'm gonna have to go back and do thousands of easy clues again or thousands of medium clues.
Mm.
Um, I
Totally,
think
yeah, that's a problem.
which honestly only comes from the fact that we have the collection log and people are addicted to the green text on their collection log. But I think an
It's not
easy,
just that. Let me just add one caveat and say like it also comes down to, which to be fair, that is the overarching theme, but it's just the fact that you've done something and I need to redo it again. Like that sucks. But yeah.
touche. I think a good introduction to that with Grandmaster clues is to not overlap it with other things. So don't throw third age on there. Create, I don't know, second age, whatever. Create something different that is unique to that clue tier. And I'm, like I said, I'm not a game dev, but if you're not trying to upset the collection loggers by making these Grandmaster clues be, I don't know, like 5x the rate on third age, then the solution is to create, a whole new tier that has its own unique items. But I don't know. I think having a clue that tells me to go kill Zuck, or just various different things that are difficult in the game,
That'd be
would
cool.
be a fun new adventure for sure.
See, I'm actually
Or like,
against the whole do a random PVM challenge to get to the next step. I think that's really limiting in a way. I think, in my opinion, Grandmasters should be completely outside of the. I mean, don't get me wrong. That is kind of outside of the box to just do some PVM challenge, but I would love it if like a Grandmaster clue was simply a very short process, but it was really intense. Like something like, maybe you have to sacrifice. Maybe that's not the right. I think I originally had the idea of like sacrificing a master clue to get the Grandmaster clue. So it's kind of like just risk and reward. But I'll be honest, I don't think that would actually feel that good. So maybe some other system of getting the Grandmaster, whatever that be. And then the step is, like, it tells you a place where to dig, sort of, or maybe there's like some weird cipher that's just you kind of have to figure it out. Maybe there's a time limit. I don't actually know if a time limit would feel that good, to be honest, but some place where you dig on the overworld and 3 Jads spawn or something. Just like, holy fuck, okay, this just got really intense. This isn't a cabbage man. This isn't something I just tank. This isn't triple wizard trio. This is a real battle to the death right now, and I can get one shot potentially. And it's like, you could still do it. There's no RNG really. If you just fucking focus and don't panic, you'll be good. But some crazy challenge like that where it's really short-lived. You don't have to do a fucking 2-hour Inferno run if you're bad at the Inferno and just go get your next step. It's like, no, this is fun. It's still in the world. something kind of chaotic, and if you die, you lose it, so there's some risk involved. Like, okay, just don't die. Let's get really geared for this. But you're not even sure what's about to spawn. It could be triple Jads, so you got to be on your toes. But it could also be
Could
some
be Arma, it could be something else.
Yeah, it could just be some weird thing that comes out, or like, you know, just even more powerful wizard trio that's like they're really gonna fuck you up. So you better be flicking. You have to off tick them and somehow, or something's going on, or some lava pools are spawning underneath you and shit. Just something crazy that goes on the overworld, and it's high risk, it's intense, and it's not over it's not like dragged out. It's like one to like 3 steps or something. It's just kind of intense. And
so
then
what
that's
about what about some like Grandmaster's realm where like kind of like the mimic occurs? You go to this location, you say, "Oh, okay, I have a mimic." I go into it, and you go fight the mimic. But instead of the mimic, it's I don't know, maybe like one of 9 different potential variants of an endgame boss. Maybe not triple Jads, but then you're not cluttering the overworld with anything, and it gives some kind of way for Jagex to start maybe implementing. I don't know. Did you play leagues at all? I don't think you did, right? You're not a
I
big fan of
watched
leagues.
it, but yeah, I didn't play
Okay.
it.
So then you take those like different mechanics that they introduced with what do they call them?
Echo
The
bosses.
the Echo bosses. You basically you can start implementing some of those interesting things from Echo bosses maybe into these Grandmaster encounters for these Grandmaster clues. Again, I don't know. I loved the Echo bosses in leagues. I thought it was such a cool thing. It was definitely like a different take for the content. I wanted I want them to implement it somehow into the game. It was so fun. But yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. Triple
yeah.
Jad spawning in the overworld feels odd.
Not
Because
actual
if you're
triple
gonna,
Jads. It's like the idea of that encounter. So it could be like 3 Yuris that are chucking, you know, either a range or a mage attack at you, and they're gonna fuck you up if you miss a flick. Just something that's kind of thematic to the clues, but it's just like a really intense fight that you're not exactly sure what's about to just happen right now, and it's high intensity, high chaos. You solve it, and it's
without
not a
the hour-long commitment of an Inferno run, I feel you.
yeah, and it's not like a 12-stepper where it's just like dragged out unnecessarily. No, it's like pretty short-lived. It's intense. You could potentially lose the clue if you die. It's just like, okay, we got to take these seriously. Like, I don't know, there's something kind of fun about that, in my opinion. I don't know. My just like an idea that I had for a year or so now. What do you think, LGR? Do you have any?
I would like to see like challenges. Like I don't mind seeing something where it's like defeat a Zuck, but I would like to see it be. It would be stressful though, but like time gated, where it would say like kill Zuck within the next 90 minutes, and then you have to run, gear up, run to Zuck, and if you don't have a task, sucks to suck, and you just have to do it. Or it could be something along the lines of gain 100,000 mining XP in the next hour.
Oh God!
So you have to run to VM or
Fucking
run
A.
to maybe 1 hour. That might be a little tough though. To be fair, I wouldn't be able to do that.
110,
That's
100K in VM, yeah.
That's
Can't
like
do
just
that, but
yeah, that's way too. I just don't. I don't feel like it fits quite the clue vibe. It's just like just do something masochistic just for the sake of it. It reminds me
like,
of
you
Zaya
know,
Favor.
a Yuri step where you have to equip the 2K CM cape and fucking stale baguette and chompy hat or something. This guy
Poor Marnie.
that would be funny too. But
Yeah.
I just hope it's new. I hope it's not a copy paste of the like. I hope it's just not master clues on steroids either.
Yeah. No, I feel like it should
I
just
like
be a fresh
the
change.
I like the idea you guys combined where it's like a clue guild or something where you go in there and you fight an NPC. And I like that it's any NPC among like a list because then your gear setup would be very interesting. Like you'd have to bring all the gear just in case you don't know what you're gonna get. You have to bring mage, range, melee gear, maybe Void Waker, maybe claws. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of thematic ways to do it. I think you do something like a Grandmaster's, clue area, right? And you go into it and you fight one instance of a boss, and then you proceed into the next area, and then you have to do this 3 times. You kill 3 different bosses, and then you've completed your Grandmaster clue. Even something like that would be interesting or neat. I'm not a game dev, but I think we need something for sure.
Do they have Grandmaster clues in RS3?
I don't know.
I have no
I don't know.
idea.
I don't play RS3.
Yeah, no,
Okay. Polling is ruining RuneScape. What's happening? What's happening,
um,
guys?
I think last conversation is a great segue into that, right? I'm not a game dev. I really don't know what I want. I wish they would aspect of Jagex, like the game devs, would just free fire content in the game, um, and not have to poll everything. I feel like we're losing so much magic or experience of doing something that is like exciting. We really didn't, and that's why leagues I think excites people is because there's so many things that just get thrown into it that aren't necessarily fleshed out in the design process before they get put into it. And I wish we had more opportunity to give the game devs more length without feeling we need to pull every single thing that gets added into the game.
LGR?
Uh, I mean, it might be a hot take, but I would just change the whole polling system where instead of pass or fail, Jagex polls for guidance, and they use those numbers just to, feel if they should commit or not.
Mm.
So if something gets pulled and it fails and 40% of people say yes, then, Jagex could still pull the trigger, but, you know, obviously it might not be a good idea. So that's how I would see it. Then again, I'm scared that they start dropping stuff like Rathma, which I was not a fan of, and some other things that I would not enjoy. But then again, everything most likely is going to pass regardless. So at this point, just make it for guidance and trust Jagex that they're going to deliver something good.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think the dev team's has a pretty good track record lately of coming out with some pretty balanced updates. I think it's a little bit different with leagues, the freedom they have of it, because they really don't need to worry about any balancing. It's just just send it.
Just send it
Come out with some
early.
fun shit that's super OP and it's all fun. But with the main game, they do have to be a lot more careful. And I think, LGR's point of it just kind of being guidance, I think it already sort of is. I mean, they even lowered the threshold to 70, where it's kind of like things are pretty much going to pass. If they come out with a cool idea, it's coming into the game. Like, it just is. So like there really isn't any real gatekeeping already. It's just kind of passing it by. It almost feels like just I don't know,
Like
just
a formality at this point.
Yeah, it's a formality, and it's a tiny barrier potentially of something really dreadful coming into the game. But ultimately, yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. Like I'm always for quality of life updates being sort of unpulled, integrity changes being unpulled, even some fun things that they know, like the dev team could be, like for example, like Varlamore, they had that like frog quest or whatever, and it was just something charming. It wasn't pulled or anything, and I think we all agreed, like there was actually a poll ran. See, this is actually something I think would be cool. I've mentioned this, is like literally have a poll where the poll question is, do you want us to come out with something that's unpolled? Like it's just kind of like we're polling the question, do you want to give us the freedom to come out with a new boss where it's a complete surprise? And we'll be careful with it. You got to trust us as a team. We're going to try this one time. If it's out of control, you guys can let us know. But ultimately, is this something you guys want to see? And then, so it's like including the polling in giving us something that's like unpolled in a way. Like I think that would be kind of cool, a cool route to go down. But I don't know. I think we have a pretty good balance. Most things that came out with Varlamore, we're just like, yeah, we kind of had an idea of what was coming out, but then you actually play it and it still feels fresh. It still feels like something you weren't expecting. So
I guess that's fair. I don't know. I feel like so many aspects are run by the players, and then our development process takes so long.
That's true. The development process does take a lot longer because of it.
And I think we're seeing that with sailing. I mean, when was sailing initially, or not even just sailing in general, when was the new skill proposal? When was that? 2023, or was that last year?
It was 2023, early.
This is absurd then. Like, this is... I know it's like a whole engine development thing, but I just think it's so wild that here we are years later and we're still in this process of just, well, do you guys want to see this? Or I don't know. I wish the devs had more freedom of expression and just full sending content. And if it's bad, then they readjust it and fix it as it comes out. I don't know. What was it? RS2 had, so many new skills coming out pretty consistently. And I personally don't think Hunter was good until, I mean, Herbie made it tolerable in my opinion, but you had what, Chins? Like Tickmanip Chins is fun, but Hunter as a skill, like early game is awful. It's so bad.
It's just birdhouses. That's all it is.
Yep, pretty much.
Which I'm okay with. I'm okay with.
There's one thing about Jagex I wanted to touch on, and that's the QA side of it. I don't want to like flame him or anything, but I just want to mention like in my line of work, when something doesn't work out or breaks, there's an investigation that's conducted to understand what happened and why it broke. And we've seen in the past like couple of years a lot of updates that drop in the game, and there's a lot of bugs. And I don't want to just say they're garbage. I want to propose a solution, which would be instead of doing the updates on Wednesdays, why don't you do a soft update on Tuesday or Monday and let the players perform the QA for you and call out all the bugs. That way, on the Wednesday official update, there's not a bunch of bugs everywhere that we find.
Yeah, that would be
I
interesting.
don't know how the development works. I don't know about QA. I'm not a software engineer, of course, but that's just from my outside perspective of how I see it.
Totally fair. Yeah. Any further thoughts on sailing? Kind of, if we want to delve into that.
I'll go. So I initially was not a fan of a new skill. Then it passed the poll. So then I was like, okay, I mean, coming into the game. And I voted for taming just because it kind of just looked fun. But I didn't necessarily where it wasn't much invested. My concern with sailing is if it flops, which I hope it doesn't, and I have a feeling it won't because Odd Husky is, I trust that guy. But if it flops, that could be very bad for the future of the game. But the other side of the coin, if the skill just like is extremely good and extremely well received, that could be a really, really great for the game long term and attract a lot of new player base. So it's a risk, and I hope that the risk is favorable at the end. But my concern is just simply that if it flops, it could be bad. And the other thing too is I really hope it just shits out clues because even if it's shit, I'll camp it.
I think
So,
that throwing your net overboard on your boat, you're just going to be catching so much fish and probably a bunch of clue bottles, especially if they had stackable clues beforehand. All the stacked clue bottles could be huge.
that'd be cool.
I don't know.
Awesome.
I'm I voted for sailing, and I'm I don't know. So I think it was Greg. Greg commented on the cast with you that he thinks that Jagex is going to put out the best version of sailing that they can make. And the more I see the content on sailing, the more I think that even Jagex's best vision and what their perspective of what sailing needs to be, the best version of that might still not be good enough to be in the game.
Mm.
And that's my concern. Um, I'm hopeful. Dude, I miss getting that little thing that stalls me and tells me I leveled up. I love it. Oh my God, I would love to max again. I think it would be so much fun. And I just don't know if sailing is it. I didn't like any of the proposals personally. I think taming was like Pokemon and RuneScape, which feels weird. I didn't like summoning. The concept of summoning bothers me. Uh, and then what was the other one? That was the shamanism, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's like my fear with shamanism, and maybe I'm out of touch here, so you guys can correct me. But when I look at shamanism, I'm like, oh my gosh, can't even get one damn mega rare in my Ironman, and now I'm gonna have to have three sites, each with like a different imbuement from shamanism to do each different piece of content that I would use it with. Like that terrifies the living hell out of me. So I don't know. That's just my perspective. I think sailing was the lesser of three evils, and it was like the most explorative and the biggest task. So I really do because I know it's going to come into the game. It's going to come. It happens. I just hope Jagex does a really good job, and I hope I have fun doing it.
Yeah.
So
I think it's so important at this stage because I'd imagine earliest it comes out is like late 2026. And I just want it to be so focused on fun. Just really try not to worry too much about okay, we got to make some weird. I don't know. I just want it to be fun and simple and not overly complex. And I want you to be able to get friends on your boat and chill out. I think there was even some discussion. I can't share too much on this. I mean, this is pretty general, but it's like some discussion of like Ironman potentially not being able to be on people's boats because they're, you know, they're going to abuse XP. I'm like, dude, at this point, there's so much abuse going on with Ironman. Like, this is like the least of our concerns. Like, we should easily, don't make this the POH thing where like Ironman just, you can't go to other people's. I would love it if Ironman could go to other people's POH. They just can't like interact with things. Like, I think that would have been a better solution in a way. But at this point with sailing, like, please don't have any weird limitations like that. Like, and make it so if you're on a boat with somebody else, you can all kind of gain XP together. Like, give some incentive to sail with the boys, you know? Like,
Yeah,
don't
playing sea shanty and smashing a bottle of Captain Morgan, just having fun.
yeah. I genuinely want that. Like, I would be totally for a sense of services in a way, not services like we know them, but like this kind of idea of like, hey, I want to be the captain of the ship. I'm going to carry you guys. We're all going to get drips of sailing XP, even though I'm kind of carrying the ship crew right now. Like, you guys are just the crew. You're just on board. We're going to, you know, deliver some packages. But because you guys are a part of the journey, like, we're all going to get XP together. I don't want there to be some weird gatekeeping of like, no, you need to be on your own boat. You need to fucking suffer yourself and no fun. You can't be on another person's ship or you're not going to get rewarded at all. It's like, just stop with that. Like, I don't know. I want it to be very much fun focused and don't worry so much about gatekeeping XP and gatekeeping, making it really solo driven just to have this weird dynamic of like, I don't know, boosting being, I don't know. Like, this is hard for me to articulate properly, but you guys, I think, get the gist of what I'm saying. Like, I just want it to be focused on fun. Sail with the boys. You're all gaining XP. It's a fun time because ultimately there's like less than 1% of the player base that's really going to be fucking competing for anything. It's like, just let us have a good time on the sea, on our boats. And also,
Yeah, I agree with you.
give customization to the boats. Like, I want us to be able to pimp out our ships. You know, it sounds cool.
I hope so. I hope there's a lot of depth to the skill. I think customization would be fun. I can't wait to do some time trial under 3 minutes and 15 seconds so that I can get the twisted theme on my my paddle boat. But
Yeah. Barracuda trials.
yeah, the Barracuda trials, right? Like I said, I really hope they focus on fun and not about, trying to min max of how to keep the player base or the 1% of the people happy. And I have faith. I do. I think that Husky. I trust anybody ultimately who's given us Sepulcher to make a good content.
Yeah, Sepulcher is amazing, and Husky's just a really great dev. He cares about what the community thinks as well.
So I know like a lot of people, like a big portion of RuneScape as a whole, and you kind of dive more into like playing more seriously is a big thing for people is like clans, and you have tons of like social clans and Ironman PVM clans, and everything has been kind of like solidified in the last 10 years. You have like Solace and Oblivion and Hexus, all these like big name clans that have been around forever. So I think a lot of things that people don't know about me and LGR is we started a clan in July of last year with a collection log focus, and I think that we kind of have an interesting perspective on kind of what that process looks like, because it's not something that people do very often, and if they do, it's like small social clans, and we've kind of exploded. So I'm really, it's something I really just wanted to touch on because it's a clan that didn't really have a purpose until the collection log high scores were announced. And I think the process of starting that and what that looks like is a fun little journey to kind of yap about for a little bit. LGR, you kind of want to start.
We like yapping here, so so basically, there's always been a niche for a collection log clan. Like way back in the day, I'm talking way back, like I'm talking 2 to 3 years ago. The collection log Discord tried to start a clan, but it failed. And a lot of people were basically saying how are you going to convince an endgame clogger to leave their current clan that they've been in for years or whatever to join a random new clan, and that is true. That was a concern, and I was considering doing it for like several months, and I just never thought it would be really possible. And like several months ago in like July, I started getting burnt from my current clan, my old clan today, and I decided, I was burnt. I didn't really want to play the game. I didn't really like that clan anymore, and I made a ramble talking about it. And in
What
the
was?
ramble, I said, "Sorry."
Yeah, no, I was sorry. I was just gonna interrupt and say like, why was it that you were getting burned from it? But you're probably
It
gonna
was
touch
just
on
like
it.
a culture thing. They were basically like memeing on me quite a bit, like just laughing at my Callisto kill count, making fun of clogging. It was probably just banter, to be
Mm,
fair, but it was just nonstop. Like every day, every time I log in, I type GM. You know me, JT. I always do that, and eventually I just got annoyed. I was doing all the events. It was a lot of work, and I just didn't really feel like I didn't feel valued in doing that. So
mm,
I made a ramble explaining that, and I made a ramble how explaining how I was considering doing a clog clan, but decided not to. Because I was asking a few people, like, would you be interested in helping me? Because I need mods to help me out. I can't just do everything alone. And most people were like, no, I'm happy in my current clan, and. And in the ramble, I explained that, and it was actually Valor on Discord who messaged me in a public Discord. He's like, "Hey, like, are you actually serious about like doing a clock climb? Because I would join." And Valor's like, I think he's ranked 4 or 5 in the collection log, and I was like, "Wait, what? Valor would join?" And then Marnie and Basiligus both messaged me and said, "Hey, like honestly, like I don't like Oblivion. I would join too." And I was like, "Oh." So right there, I have 3 top 5 cloggers. So I decided, fuck it, pull the trigger. I left my old clan, started this one, and that's when JT showed up. And I mean, my Discord knowledge is, I know how to create channels and assign permissions, but I don't actually know how to properly manage a Discord. So I think JT fit perfectly in for that role. Just hard carried the Discord with the nude as well, and
nice.
it was really really crazy at first because a lot of my like current friends from the old clan, they were like telling me how like it's not gonna work, like no one's gonna join, like, no one's gonna join your claw clan, no one clogs whatever. And the clan kind of just grew extremely fast for the first month, sorry. And it was nuts. I was very surprised. I didn't think we were gonna grow that fast, and I didn't really care, to be honest, because I was just happy to be around a community that is like-minded. Everyone in the clan obviously enjoys the collection log. They would not be there if not for that. And at the same time, everyone in the clan is trying to pursue certain goals, whether it be PVM, pet hunting, or clog. And I find together with mains and irons alike, it's nice sharing that atmosphere. The, shout out GT, you hard carried that, by the way. So you'd be there
No,
without me.
dude.
It was it
I
was it
I
was
was
rough.
oh my god, I was terrified. Well, so like I'm like so my Discord status will always be like your mom's favorite mid-game Iron Man. Like I am like the guy I'm maxed Iron Man who's like stuck with no mega rares. I don't ever get drops. It's so frustrating. But I'm a nobody to these people, right? I mean, you have Marty and you have Domas and Valor and LGR, like all these like big gamers, and for me like it's still a video game at the end of the day, and I understand it's a video game, but there's still like those are those are like big name people that are in this, and so to me it was a lot of stress because I wanted to do right by them, and I wanted to like make sure we solidified ourselves as a clan. So I still have like imposter syndrome so bad, because I feel like I don't know, my account's like super newbie, and here I am like running a clan with all these gamers in it, and I think it was really a scary thing because old school RuneScape has been around for what 12 years now,
Yeah,
11,
almost.
yeah. You have all these like huge clans that are solidified. Like, how do you convince all of these big name people like you know DKHO and all this stuff? Like, how do you convince them to leave these solidified clans that have been around forever to pursue something new? And what I realized is that we don't need to. What we've been able to do in 6 months is we kind of found our niche, and we have like fun little events, and I don't know. I think we attract a lot of people just through that. And I'll tell you right now, trying to find an event that caters to somebody who's done pretty much everything in the game is so hard. I cannot stress to you. Oh my gosh, It's just absurd. So finding that out and figuring stuff out like that has been really tricky. So was it like what was it like the first 2 weeks of the clan LGR? It was like, oh my god, so many people are joining. What do we do? We need to have an event. So I didn't know what to do. So I'm like, I just threw together a casket competition. And what the casket competition is there's no solving clues. It's whatever you pre-stacked in your bank. There are bounties on items, and the person who gets the highest value from opening the casket submits it, and then at the end of the 2 days, whoever has the highest value wins. And then if you get like third age pickaxe, stuff like that, bloodhound from a master, it's an insta win, and you win, a set amount of GP. I thought this would be like really fun and simple. Well, it took off. People love it. So now we have people in our clan who specifically don't even open clues until we have our casket competitions, which has been absolutely fun and a blast. And to give you kind of like a peek into what that looks like, Sater, is I think last competition we had like 21,500 clues opened
Yeah, correct.
in 2 days.
Jesus.
Yeah, we had an event
Masters,
where
or is this just any
All
tiers?
combined.
But Masters
let
is
me
going to
check.
give you your best chance.
You
basically.
wrote the list, JT.
Yeah, I have all the data published. So when we end the events, I tell everybody how many elites, how many masters, how many mimics we did. Yeah, so 21,352 clues, 10,241 were hards, 2,732 were elites, and 990 were masters.
Damn.
Yeah, the clan as a whole in that 48-hour period of time, we got 636 collection log slots.
Jesus, that's awesome.
was-
That does sound like a fun event, especially as a clog
And-
Discord or a clog clan.
For me, the most fun in that event is like a lot of people that are giga gamers. They're not very present on like social media or YouTube or anything, so they would actually stream their openings, and you would watch those openings on Discord, and they would not actually solve the masters. They would just drop them. So you're watching some guy open.
Oh.
Like there's one guy in our clan, Cash B, who stacked 10,000 hards on a main.
What the fuck?
10
Yeah, it is.
freaking thousand hards. He was grinding raids to get like GP to buy more implays. Like
10.
that's messed up.
That is the
He only got to
largest.
open a few thousand in the weekend because too many masters, right?
Is that the largest stack of any tier ever?
I think a guy did 10,000 easies. I remember you mentioning that several years ago.
I think that was.
But
I
it-
think Iron Flynn. Oh, actually, you're right. I think there was somebody that did 10,000 because Iron Flynn did 5,000, and then there was a guy
I
that
don't
did
know if
10,000. You're right. You're right. It was. God, I feel so bad for forgetting his name. It's just been a minute, but yeah, you're right. But 10,000 hards. Holy
Yeah, it's
goddamn hell.
crazy. I think he's got 3 third age so far, and he has like 4,000 left. He's still opening. It's been like a week and a half now.
He opens 500 at a time.
It's so crazy.
Holy crap.
But yeah, so that event we had, I want to say I calculated, I looked at the logs. I think we had openings. People were actively opening clue caskets for 33 hours straight.
Damn.
It was insane. Like
That was so fun.
it was so fun. I lost sleep. I think one of the nights I didn't even sleep. I tried to go to bed, and then I got in Discord on my phone and laid in bed watching casket openings, and then just like bullshitting and laughing with everybody. I didn't even sleep. It was awful. Terrible decision, but I had so much fun. What a good time. But yeah, so just things like that. Like, I think there are some people, and I wanted to touch on this solely for the fact that I'm sure there are people in a clan right now who feel like they're stuck or they enjoy portions of it, but there are communities out there that you can find other people who want to do things the way you do it. And I think that just because the game has been around so long, that doesn't mean that you can't solidify yourself into like those big name clans. I mean, we're verified on Temple. Like there are aspects of our clan, like people know who we are, and it has not been very long. So to feel like to have that happen, it's just, I don't know, it feels like a blessing. It's been really, really fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's like a very great synergy between these staff as well. Like we don't actually see any one of us being above others. We're all like me, JT, and Petville. We're all equal. Danune also. Danune is actually a goat. Like he is owner of another clan, but he still helps us out because he loves the collection log so much. So
Which brings me to my next point. Like, not to cut you off, but fuck, man, you know how dumb it is that we can only be in one clan. we got this gigantic clan expansion, and all we did was lose accessibility. We went from friends chats and being ranked in friends chats and being able to be in multiple to only being allowed in one clan. And I don't know if it's just me, but I think that stinks because there's like aspects of different communities. Like if you want to be in a skilling community and be in Oblivion or in like, it's not possible. Like you can't be in multiple clans in the game, and I think that's lame.
Yeah, I think there's an element of there's something kind of cool about it, like being a part of a clan. But you're right. I think in practice, like in all practicality, it's like it would be cool to be able to jump around to your fave clans. You know, even if you had like even just a maximum of like 3 or something, you just be in 3 of them. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts on the bingo potentially like being implemented in game? Is that mod Elena?
Yeah, one of the mods was
Or
working
who?
on that.
Maybe it wasn't Elena. I want to give credit where it's due, but yeah, there's like some actual bingo system that'll be implemented into the clan. That's going to be fascinating.
I mean, JT was mentioning we haven't really had many clan updates. I think that specifically would be so good. Bingos are such a huge portion of clans nowadays. I remember way back in the day doing solitary bingos. Not very well known, but nowadays every single clan is doing bingos all the time. It's like part of the clan culture. So having a system like that in place would be so good, so cool. Why not?
One thing I really want as well is the clan halls. I wish you could build it up sort of like a POH where you know, you could have like a gallery where, you know, people with their 2KCM caves can kind of like shove them on the wall of the gallery, and even something as simple as a teleport to your clan hall. That seems so like so simple. It's like, why has this not happened yet? Why is there not a teleport to your clan hall? Like that would be so cool to have a clan where you're not banking at the crafting guild anymore. Like you're banking with your clan in a way. Like, you know, just maybe there's a downside of it of like, okay, you're leaving the main world kind of and you're going into your little instance. But dude, I would love it if like you teleporting to your clan hall was like the main kind of hub you go to. So you see your clan members often. Like, I don't know, that sounds cool.
Yeah, right now your clan hall is whatever homeworld you have in the crafting bank.
Yeah.
For us, yeah.
Like I would be all about them really trying to pimp out the clan halls and make them feel more like just somewhere where you want to be and somewhere that's accessible and just convenient. I don't know.
I'm really for any clan expansion. I think it'd be awesome. I think getting a little more love there would be really cool. They had a clan Discord that after the update got pushed out was abandoned. Like they just stopped using it.
Yeah, I remember that. They used that Discord to allow people to get specific names so they don't get sniped. Yeah, I remember.
Interesting. Any other thoughts on clans before we move on to the question spree?
Do you want to talk more about events? Because we do more than just the Clue Comp. The Clue Comp was just like our first event that surprisingly enough popped off. But we did another type of event, which was like a PVM comp. And that's where the difficulty between like someone like Marnie, who's literally only has a stale baguette and clues left. Like for him, why would he do a bingo? Like he's not going to go back to Sire. He doesn't care about Sire. But something along the lines of a PVM comp, what we did is we took every boss in a game and we gave points for like kill counts, so EHP, but also for uniques. And Ginny did a bunch of calcs through coding, and he made it in a way where, on average, if you spend 1 hour efficiently killing a boss, you'd get 10 points for EHP, but you should expect statistically to get 10 points through drops of rare items. And so that made all bosses exactly balanced across the board. There was a few exceptions which we have to fix for the next event, like Mass Callisto and stuff. You just sent the picture if you want to show it. And that event was so sick. I had so much fun just being a massive degenerate on Discord and just talking to everyone.
That was probably my favorite ever experience in a clan event. And I've done dozens of partaking or hosting events, and we've come up with some silly ideas, but this one was like fully fleshed out, and you got points for doing EHB, you got points for getting items. And this event, like, it was fun because no matter where you were at, you could have 1,480 slots, and if you still needed to go like do Fosani's Nightmare because you needed slots there, you could go do that and get efficient points to participate and be an active member of your team. You weren't getting stuck doing Vorkath for 25, 30 hours during an event because that was what the most efficient points was. It was a lot of fun. It was insanely neck and neck. It was absurd. My team, we actually won with, I think it was like 8 minutes left on the clock. We got a Scurious pet with 8 minutes left of the event and ended up winning because the Scurious gave no points. We were just like, let's make this like Hail Mary item where it's 500 points if you get the Scurious pet. So it was like a half hour left of the event. We were like, oh my God, we're going to lose. The only way we can win is if we somehow get a Scurious pet. So we sent the whole team to Scurious. I haven't seen 20 people in a voice chat just absolutely just screaming their heads off with joy like I did that day. It was so wholesome.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, we were in the Finnish team, like a bunch of Finnish gamers. We had the most EHB, but we got unlucky on drops, so we lost by... How many points did we lose by? It wasn't much.
I was like 500, but
It's still
it was only because we were neck and neck until the very end.
Yeah, that was cool. I also got a pet.com, so I won the event. I don't care. But yeah, we're also doing another event like Raids Comp, where you're basically trying to complete the Raids collection log as a team. So like any unique would give you like a unique, like if you get an ancestral hat, then that gives you a point. But if your teammate gets another ancestral hat, that doesn't do anything. So that's just a way to promote raiding. So yeah.
I'm just thankful for it. That's all. I really wanted to touch on it because I'm sure that there are other people that play the game, who listen to the podcast, who feel stuck where they're at. And,
Totally, yeah.
And this reinvigorated, my passion and love for RuneScape. I don't think I would still be playing as much as I am without it. So we have an amazing community. I'm so thankful for it.
It's so important, like the community involvement. I think it's a little bit different as a streamer. I mean, before I was a streamer, I mean, I was always involved in clans, and it was definitely important for me to be involved in just a clan. It just feels like you're a part of something, and the events, even if I mean, I would participate back then, but even if you weren't, it was cool, like still being just a part of like just knowing what's going on and stuff. It's just fun. Being a streamer is a little bit different, I think, just because you already kind of have a community of RuneScape, but it's so important. Yeah, if you're not involved in the community, I think, I don't know, some people are lone wolves, but I feel like the vast majority of people would definitely benefit being a part of some sort of community or clan in game. Okay,
yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
well, let's
find a community.
Let's ask this question here. It's what do you think the Clog High scores will look like in 5, 10, or 15 plus years? Do you think?
I'll start.
Yeah.
I wrote that. Well, my first question is: does the game going to be alive? First of all, 15 years. Who knows?
I hope not.
But
God.
the reason I
Did you say you hope not?
Dude, I'll be in my mid 40s or 15 years. I'll be 50. I'll be in my 50s. No, I'm not. Maybe, I don't know. That'd be good. I hope I'm not playing it in 15 years, is what I guess I should say.
You will be. You will be.
I just hope in 15 years, if I am playing, I'm not like actually being a neat about it. Like I'm just playing as a hobby on the side, like here and there.
Yeah.
If I'm needing it in 15 years, then
you're a real gamer.
Okay. But Clock High scores wise, I think there's a few people that are just like slowly climbing the ranks. I can see Sedge claiming rank 1 down the line in like maybe another year or two, passing Marnie, and maybe Hey Jace would get up there too if enough time passes. And I think Carrie Lull in our team, he's a sleeper clogger. He's gonna be top 3 in a year or two. In a year, I think, actually.
Do you think anybody will have completed the clog? Even
that depends.
Depends. Yeah, and of course it depends on what's added. Maybe more third age pieces are added, second age pieces. But
I think it also depends on what metas are dropped. Like if there's a new boss that drops elites like every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Or that would that's a different topic.
Oh my god.
I don't know if because the issue about completing the clog, like it's possible on paper, but I think the mental strength you need to be able to do like shades for like 10 years. Uh, the only person I can see doing that is like Sedge, because that guy's like an actual robot.
The guy's crazy.
He's cracked. Like, but besides that, like Marnie is already kind of burnt, and same thing with Domas. Like you can't sustain that much, like clue grinding for that long. Maybe it'll happen, but it's unlikely.
There's like
I'm never gonna say never.
45,000 hours just for third age, isn't it?
On rate, yeah. That's the part. If you get lucky. If you get unlucky, then you're doomed.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, remember when Casey was rank 1 Masters? I mean, it's fascinating to see the rank 1 person is the guy that's going over 6x rate of Bloodhound, for example. Like, imagine rank 1 Clog is 6x rate of the time it takes to complete the Clog, or just something
you're
ridiculous.
Screwed. You don't have enough time in your life to do that.
Well, that hurts me.
Yeah.
There could always be this crazy luck, you know. I mean, Marnie's luck already has been insanity, but does it keep up long term, you know?
I think I calculated for Marnie a long time ago how lucky he was, but I don't remember off the top of my head anymore. Shit.
The thing is, I still don't think, even with the luck, are his hours even shaved that much?
Yeah, he's like 24,000 hours away, which is still disgusting to think about.
Yeah.
But that's 200 mil all in terms of like back in the day for iron, or it's like 200 mil all today for irons. But that's like doing non-stop efficient shades, which he's not going to be able to sustain that.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
And is it 24,000 or 44,000 hours left? I'll have to check the. I don't know, spread misinformation.
I would imagine it's
weren't you just saying it was only 44,000 for full clog in the first place?
It's like 56K for full clog, I believe. At least for irons.
Oh, Marnie is 36,000 hours away, so I guess I was wrong there.
He's still 36,000 hours away.
Yeah, that's like 9 years of like being a neat.
And he's rank 1.
That's assuming no other clogs come out in the game. As soon as Helmet of the Moon's added,
then he loses like 2 years.
Another 10,000
whatever
hours.
time.
What is the hours of the Moon? Do we have any rough estimate of how long that takes?
I think
we don't have any rates.
The issue.
Yeah, we have no rates. That's the issue.
Okay.
Jaya was asking me like if I knew rates. I was like, I haven't touched that at all. I'd be curious to know. You'd have to. I mean. The keys are so rare from skilling that you can't even do like a proper sampling. You'd have to do like 50 hours of skilling on each location to know. I don't know.
Well, what about if you just assumed Moxie, or just assumed whatever it's 1 in 500 for Moxie? Like what is the average amount of kills you can get per hour at Moxie?
Like 85 or 82 or something like that.
Yeah, that's with alting. Solo, it's more like 70.
Okay,
but let's
just say like 8 hours for one key piece.
Yeah.
And then let's just tack on another 8 hours.
3,200 hours just for the rate at 400.
Whoa, wait. Yeah, 30. So yeah, you got 32, and then let's just say double it for the skilling pieces, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if it was a rare, so you're looking at
like 6 or 7K hours.
Yeah, 6, 7 cheap fucking.
No. Ew. that is awful.
And that's just rate.
Dude, like, the people that have that helmet right now, by the way, like their accounts are rare as fuck.
There's a guy on the collectional Discord, he made 20 level 3s, AFK'd all 20 of them until one of them got a stale baguette after like 150 hours.
That is so dumb. No, that is stupid. That's stale baguette is not gatekeeping anything. It's just not.
It was just funny.
Yeah, that is funny, but it's like that doesn't gatekeep it. Back when the Jar of Darkness was like the big ticket thing, I'll be honest, there was probably an argument to like buy an account that had the Jar of Darkness already on and then just start clogging up that account just so you don't have to deal with it, because it was 1 in 2,500 Scotizo to go raid.
Yeah, you have to do like 400 mil Slayer or something to get raid.
And if you went 8x rate of the Jar of Darkness, yeah.
I say Zeem did 200 mil Slayer. He got, I think, 1,100 keys from 200 mil Slayer.
Yeah, yeah. Can you imagine Can you just imagine this? 8x rate of Jar of Darkness before the drop change. 20,000 Scotizo.
Oh my god.
Dude, I did something interesting like yesterday or the day before. I went on Petcord and I took the data of all like because Petcord they have like a section for pet dry streaks if you weren't aware, and basically the person that won the driest for each pet can submit like proof that they did, and then Marnie, who's the Discord owner, would like put whoever's driest. So I took all the people from Petcord that did that won the driest for each pet, and then I inputted the amount of kills per hour you can get on each boss. And then obviously the most unlucky, like there's one guy that went for Chaos Elemental 3,200 kills, which is 10.7x rate.
Oh, God,
Statistically speaking, that's insane.
Yeah, it
but
happens.
it's Chaos Elemental, so it's like not.
No, it's the best place to. Yeah, it's the best place to
it's like,
go.
that's
That
good.
crazy unlucky. I mean, I went the worst luck I've ever had rate wise of something that was significant was an unsired. I went 8.7 times the rate of in between two different unsireds.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the Poppy cast.
Yeah, no, that was just insane to me. Like it was just like I thought the game broke. Like I was like, do I need to talk to the font of consumption or whatever the hell that thing's called? Like, what's happening? I was about to reach out to Jagger.
I was then for the calculations, the worst person I found was Casey for his Bloodhound. That was 2,600 hours lost. But there's a guy that went 5,200 for the Penance Queen. That's 5.2x. That is freaking rough.
Dude, you know what's even rougher is like, well, I don't know if it's rougher. Maybe the Bloodhound, especially Bloodhound back then. Remember when Casey? Do you guys remember Casey's real Bloodhound grind? Like that was.
He was getting DMs donations for like a chance of a prize pool. I remember that.
It was like getting a
That's all I
TiVo or something. Yeah, like that. I mean, like just the donations aside. I mean, obviously that's a huge benefit. But like, dude, it was so different. Like it was just.
What was he doing for elites back then? Besides Frimplings?
Barrows. I think.
Actually, fun fact about barrels. I don't know if you're aware of this, but you don't actually have to kill any brother. You can just like use the strange lockpick and just full send the chest and open it for no loot, and you still get kill count.
Well, you get kill
so
count,
get,
but
like,
you don't
70
get
kills an hour.
But you don't get elites.
You don't get elites. No.
Yeah.
But imagine if they changed that, where you get the elite as static instead of based on how many brothers you kill.
That would be interesting.
That would be like 3.5 elites an hour or something.
See, I still wonder if there's any just weird psychopath that's just running like no Barrows brothers chests just to like artificially inflate their Barrows.
Dude, I was actually thinking of doing that for a 6-hour record for the memes.
It's just like so random to do. It's just like this is so pointless. But I
for the clout.
See it happen. Yeah.
It's just for the memes. You got to.
Yeah.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, no,
Sorry,
I mean,
I got sidetracked again.
I think of just like what are the worst places to go 8x rate? Or you could even say 10x. 10x is super uncommon, but 8x
Probably
does
like
happen.
Corp.
I would say
Corp.
I would say, yeah, Corp, obviously, 40,000 Corp would be insanity for the pet. I mean, I would say Jar of Stone would be up there, 40,000 for a Jar of Stone. Jesus fucking Christ.
That's Slayer locked too. Yeah.
And then there's, I mean, Helmet of the Moon.
Sounds awful.
Oh, actually, I have a worse one for you.
Yeah.
And I hope it doesn't happen to me. I hope I don't jinx myself. But the Chambers pet, the Omelette.
Yeah.
Because that's locked by
No,
purples.
You're right.
That would be brutal. I know a guy in another Discord I'm in, Minotaur. He's 200 something purples, no pet. That's 4x. He's been doing Chambers for a year straight now, hunting that pet.
Dude, you know what would actually be worse in my opinion? Is being an Ironman and actually going 8x the rate of a T-bow.
Yeah.
Because you would just have like a fucking clog full of like 7 or 8 omelettes, but you still don't have the T-bow, and you can't
8,000 solos.
Yeah, and you can't even raid with the T-bow. So the entire time you're not even maximizing, your amount of kills because you just don't have a T-bow. Oh, that gives me the chills, man.
That's that you just have to restart your account after 2x, honestly.
And then you go another fucking 2x. You restart accounts again. I mean,
I have a buddy who's pacing like almost 2k cape on his iron with no T-bow for 2k CMs with a Bofa and a Shadow.
Oof.
That's pain.
Remember Mary J went like 3K for his scythe.
Yeah, there's a guy that went slightly drier, Ranger Fane. He went 3,400 for his scythe, including hard mode. And he was doing like only trios, like it wasn't.
And he's an
finals or
Ironman,
anything.
right?
Yeah, he's an Iron. Yeah,
And it's just
he's
like
a
you
gamer.
have to remember, like, this is not a main that's already using a scythe to get a scythe. It's like, no, you don't have a scythe the
He's
entire
a
time.
blade.
Yeah, just
I
fucking
mean,
misery.
the only positive thing is he saved a lot of blood runes.
Yeah, I bet he loves that. Just giving him the.
He's probably pissed off after hearing
Just
that.
he was-
What a copium take.
He saved a lot of vials of blood and blood runes. Yeah.
Just do the LGR strategy in top when you do your 2K cape and not use any blood runes.
Oh my god,
Hey, don't meme on the tech, dude.
dude.
You bring 2 scythes into top, uncharged scythe, and when someone dies, you just do a switcheroo. No one notices.
Dude, did you see that guy that went? What was it? 8,000? Wait, no, 10,000. 10,000 brimstone chests for full dusk. Almost 10. It was like
Someone
9.
did that?
Yeah, it was like 9,900.
I didn't see that. Who was it?
Oh my god, why am I spacing? Who was this? It was
Because the driest guy I know was Gnarly, and I think he was 62.
no, this
So if
was
someone went 9,000,
this was an
that's...
this was an Iron Man with 200 mil Slayer, and he
And
posted
was
it
it
in he posted it in my stream. I can't remember his name now. Damn it.
Bro, you gotta send me that
No,
screenshot.
yeah,
That's...
it was literally like 9,970 for his mystic top.
And you see the clog like in the...
Yes, and you look at his collection log, and he's got literally 10 of every other piece.
Oh my
so
god.
Bro,
No.
that's so sad.
Out of
Was this
control.
before the change for the superiors guaranteeing the brimstone key?
He's been doing Konar for
Yeah, he's
years.
been doing-
for
yeah,
that
he
many
had to have been
keys.
doing
Oh
Konar
yeah,
for
dude.
that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
No, I mean, just like, what the fuck? Like, how could that even happen? Like, just this is kind of one of the things where it's like, and I asked him, I was like, when were you 4 or 5? Like, when did you become 4 or 5? And he was like, around like just like 2K or something. He became 4 or 5.
That's
And just
unlucky, dude.
just imagine knowing you have 8,000 more to go now to get that last piece.
If you knew that, you'd probably just accept your 4 out of 5. And
No, duh. Yeah, there's no way. But everyone is like, okay, it could be the next key. Could be the next one. Just like never is. Like, holy crap.
That's it's miserable.
Yeah, that's an insane... Dude, I remember when Hydra first dropped, and like several months in, I just saw a Reddit post of some UIM that went 10,000 for his claw.
Nah.
And I'm like, dude, what's even more miserable about that is like on a normal Iron Man, yeah, you could give the copium take of like, dude, you just banked hella loot. But this UIM was barely picking up anything because he's a fucking UIM. So it's just absolute misery.
You have to get the pass, and you have to do Konar, and fuck. On a UIM
Mental
too.
fortitude in those people, like I envy it. I think.
Dude, honestly, that guy should put that in his resume, because that's like, I would hire that as an intern like right away.
Yeah,
Mental strength of steel.
genuinely. Ugh. Yeah. Okay. Mentality behind efficiency scape. We have any discussion points on this?
Yeah, I had a conversation with my buddy. So I recently started playing Red Dead Redemption 2, which is like an entirely
Traitor.
single player game.
Yeah.
I know, right? And so many people don't play other games other than RuneScape. I do. I like I'm a big like Path of Exile 2 fan. Love it to pieces. But what I realized is my buddy who's telling me who only plays single player games, he's like, no, I quit multiplayer games years ago because everyone only like people only want to play spreadsheets. That's it. Like everything becomes a spreadsheet game. Everything becomes a meta. Everything becomes do this to farm this and you'll get this, and then this is the most best way to use your time. And I realized, playing single player games or playing things by myself recently, that it really is true. It reigns true that so many people are hyper obsessed about like min-maxing their time instead of just enjoying themselves. Like, oh my God, why are you doing rooftops? You should be doing Sepulcher. How are you going to max in the shortest amount of time if you don't have the GP from Sepulcher? Those kind of scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is LGR's note, but I think about taking a step back and just I don't know, enjoying what you're doing. So instead of saying, "Oh my gosh, okay, I have to go get a shadow before I go do our chambers because that's the most like the best use of my time," just doing chambers with your friends on Friday, Saturday night, having a good time. I feel like that mentality is dwindling in our game. I didn't get that. Siri just yelled at me.
Yeah, I was hearing
I
that.
heard that.
Was that a male
I
Siri?
was so confused.
I have a male Siri. Yeah, what's
Oh,
wrong with that?
boy. Nothing wrong with it. I feel like I don't know. I don't like the whole robotic male voice. It's more concerned. It feels like a Terminator vibes. I like it when with the feminine sort of vibe to it, aura about it. I don't know. That's me though.
But what are your thoughts, LGR? What do you think about the mentality behind people just trying to min-max everything?
I I like spreadsheets. So I guess I'm the opposite to you to that. It's just like math and stats and stuff. So, but I did definitely take a big step back in the last like, I would say in the last 10 months maybe. I just stopped taking the game so seriously. Ever since like Varlamore Part One came out, I just kind of was like, okay, like if I don't feel like doing something, I don't do it. I pushed back the quiver. I only got the quiver recently, like a month ago, even though it came out like
Whoa,
almost a
really?
year ago. Yeah, I just didn't really feel like I wanted to do Coliseum. I just wanted to chill, and I don't get to play as much either. So I wanted to make sure that when
Oh,
I do play, I enjoy my time and do something that I want to do, and not force myself to do something because it's this or whatever.
Like next,
And
right?
it's so it's
exactly.
so interesting because like you kind of sounds a little bit like see, I didn't know that. I thought you were still like on the Giga grind. I think who was telling me? I thought you were somebody that was just going to town right now on a certain grind. I thought it was Callisto, but it's not Callisto. Obviously, it was.
I did for a while, but right now I'm just working on like CMs passively
Oh,
and
that was it.
just
It was
vlogging.
CMs. You were doing like you're trying to go for like 6 hour CM records as well, right?
Yeah, I got that. That was fun
How
with
many was it
Ginny
in
and
6 hours?
it was 17, but we did something that some skillers got upset about, where
What?
we got the head phase and then we logged out, logged in, killed Ohm, got a kill count in 30 seconds, and then
Oh,
sent
that's
the
fair.
6 hour.
That's fair. That's fair game
Which
in my opinion.
it's the most kill count in 6 hours. So I
Yeah.
mean, you got to do what you got to do,
I mean,
right?
even 16 though. I mean, that's an insane amount. Jesus.
Yeah, we were doing trios too, so the record is beatable if you did like 5 mans with mains,
Hmm.
but I mean, I'm not a main, so and trios I find is a really good scale. I think our average was 22-minute kills. We finished the 6 hour with like 12 minutes to spare, but it's not enough time to do a full raid, so we just like okay, 17.
So let me just ask you, because do you feel like it's an element of just your own life circumstances that's kind of put you in a different play style mindset, or is it the game you feel like has kind of turned you off to some sort of more efficiency minded stuff? Like, because I know, if I was talking to you 3 years ago, I mean, you were just all about everything, just like I'm loving everything about this, and then and the only reason I'm saying this is because I feel like we can kind of relate in a way where it's like either time goes by and it's like either it's game update wise or it's just personal life wise. It's just like the game is not doing it for you. Like there's elements of a game you're like avoiding almost. It's just like, ugh, I don't want to bother with this. What is it
I'm
for you?
avoiding next. I'll fully admit that. I just
Okay.
can't be asked doing next.
But were you
Grinding
always
the
like
short
were you
run.
always like resisting things? Because I feel like when people first get to that end game experience of Iron Man, it's all about like I just love everything. Like I want to get involved in everything. I want to achieve everything. But I feel like maybe it's just like the mental exhaustion of just being end game for so long. It's just like, oh God, like it's just like I
Well,
gotta do this now. Like what is it?
I have a mentality where if I don't want to do something, I just don't do it. So
Okay.
I don't want to do next. I just don't do it. Everyone keeps asking me. I don't care. I don't want to do it right now. My
Yeah.
current plan is to do next after I greenlog all 3 raids, because then I can tell people that I got raids greenlogged with bandos, which would be kind of funny. But no one really cares except like I don't even care. I just find it funny.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe I'll go back to next. Maybe I'll cope and just say I'll go to next when I finish third age or something stupid like that.
I'm just
But
grateful I got lucky at next. Holy crap. Green log that
that's my
place.
concern. If I get stuck, because I don't play as much as I used to,
Yeah.
so I could be stuck at next for like 4 or 5 months for full Torba.
Bro, did you
Oh,
see?
GR, you're my favorite Blandos owner. Don't worry.
Like I don't want to spend. I would rather spend 4 or 5 months just grinding chambers to go for 2K.
Yeah,
I
that's fair.
find that more fun. And in real life wise too, a lot's changed. I took a step back from the game.
Mm,
I had a goal in the start of 2024 to play less in the 2023 recap than the 2024 recap, and I did drop my hours by around 33%, which is not. It's still I still played a lot. I think I did 2,300 hours in the recap, which is still quite a bit. I'd like to
mhm.
drop that even more next year. But taking a step back from the game and focusing on in real life has been really good for me.
That's good.
I like to think so.
Yeah, and it makes in some ways it can make the game just more enjoyable when you do play it.
Yeah, that's what's interesting. When you play less, you actually start enjoying the time a lot more,
Yeah.
as opposed to like because during COVID I was in school and I couldn't really didn't do anything besides gaming, so I was actually like basically in need just playing 16 hours a day,
The
and that
dream.
got very depressing. The
Yeah,
dream.
it's the dream until it's not the dream. And it's like, oh
It's the
shit.
dream for like a few weeks, and at some point you're like, damn,
It it's
is
only
this
the
really what I'm gonna be doing with my time? Like,
yeah, no, it's only the dream when it's a very limited amount. So if you had like a 2 month vacation and it's like, dude, I have unlimited free time, I'm gonna milk this because you know your time's about to end. But as soon as it's like, oh shit, I could just do this indefinitely, it's like this is kind of concerning.
I don't think I could do that indefinitely. I would definitely enjoy 2 months. Like, if my manager calls me like, hey, take 2 months off for free of charge, like, I'm like, fucking,
Yeah,
let's go to
go to town.
KCMK next
Because you know
month.
it's gonna end though, and so you're trying to
Yeah.
milk all the time you can. But yeah, the full neat life where it's just you don't even know
I
when
don't
it
know how
ends.
people do
It's
that,
just
honestly.
fucking-
Like,
it's like-
there's a few gamers in the clan that are basically doing that right now, and mental health of steel. I don't know. It's
or is
crazy.
mental health just non-existent at this point? So it's just like fully just numb to everything. Yeah, just go for it. And it's also age related. I mean, when I was 20, I'm trying to think. I was 21 when Hardcore Ironman dropped, bro. I mean, my mentality back then when Hardcore Ironman dropped and I was competing, I wasn't even efficient at the game at all, but I was still like ranked like 39. I think I peaked at, and bro, I was just loving every fucking minute of it. And all I could think about was like, dude, I wish I could just live in like a time capsule where like time didn't exist and I could just dedicate every fucking moment of my life to this game and not have to sleep or eat. You know, just
Bro, that's so weird to think about.
no. I mean, it's just straight up like when you're that addicted. Like a lot of people probably don't even know like how crazy that like addiction can get, where you're just like all you are thinking about is logging in and just playing all day, and everything's fun. The playing and the thinking about playing is fun. It's just like when you get to that point in a game, and I think the only way to really get to that point is like the competitive nature of it, where it's like something's fresh, it's exciting, it's just like holy crap, I want to flex. It's got to kind of have like that MMO feel where you're comparing yourself to other players as well. You can't just get this with a single player game long term. But dear God, yeah, I remember just thinking like I hated it when I get tired. Like I hated the feeling of like I need to fucking sleep, but I don't want to, and I need to go eat, and I don't want to. Like I just want to keep playing. Like damn it. But I think it's something to do with just being young and life is overwhelming, and so it's easy to escape reality, and it feels like you just have a lot of time on your hands. And but the older you get, and you start realizing you're mortal, and you start realizing, oh shit, like I'm losing my hair, I'm getting some gray hairs, like I don't have children, like what's happening? Like what's happening with my life? This is all getting way too real now. That's when the priorities start shifting. It's pretty natural. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of envious in a way. I've never really had that with this game. I've never been afforded the opportunity. I've had like I took 2 weeks off one time and played RuneScape pretty religiously, but I think the most I played was like 10 hours in a day.
Yeah.
I think it's, I don't know, I'm envious of it. I think it's a cool thing to do, is like be able to commit that kind of time to it.
It's cool to have like had that experience, to know like just the peak, just pure addiction, pure fun, pure just like, oh, what I would do to dedicate my life to this. But ultimately it's not healthy whatsoever, and it's definitely a temporary phase that a lot of gamers go through. I think like big gamers dedicate their early 20s into it and then realize later like, oh shit, I probably should have been investing time in other pursuits. But you know, what's that meme where it says you know, it's kind of like an anti how do I describe it? What is the meme? The meme is basically like it's going against the idea of like you only live once, like go live out in the world and just have a bunch of experiences. But then it goes like to the opposite of it. And it's like you only live once and you're living in the computer age. Why wouldn't you spend every last second of your life on the computer? Just like I need to find that meme. It's just hilarious, but it's like I don't know.
Is it like born too early to explore the world, born too late to explore the universe, born just in time to explore the internet?
It kind of like that. I'm trying to remember the exact wording of this meme. I can't even remember the meme template of it, but it's just something like, why wouldn't you spend every last waking moment on the computer? Like you're one of the 0.0000001% of humanity that gets this experience of being able to play nonstop computer games. Why wouldn't you? Like it's just like, oh shit, that's kind of a good point, but obviously it doesn't actually make much sense when you really think about it. But yeah.
All right, how about this? Think of this. Like 20 years ago, computer games were very, very shit.
Whoa, we had old school.
I mean,
we had
wait,
RuneScape.
yeah,
what are we
that's
talking
okay,
about?
30 years.
20 years ago seems like 1980s still. Like, oh no, it's not 1980s
Yeah,
anymore.
it's like, let's just say, like, what happens in 30 years? Like, how do video games look? Extrapolate from there.
Weren't they like text-based RPGs?
Dude, 30 years ago, we had PS1 games coming out. Actually, I don't think
Spyro.
PS1,
I remember that.
Was PS1 1995? When was that actually?
I was too young for that.
Or 19...
Actually, the earliest console I remember was GameCube. But imagine, like, in 30 years, what gaming is going to look like.
I mean,
surely we're going to get way more advanced.
It's gonna what gaming feels like, dude. It's gonna be all VR. We're gonna be living in suits.
No, I mean it's like we could just already be in a video game. Like this is the video game. Like it's just like we're gonna.
You're playing a video game of playing RuneScape in your room when you're like 17, and your mom brings you food.
I mean, I remember as a kid when I'm trying to think what game. I think so. I went over to my friend's house when I was in second grade, and he had Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And like I grew up Mormon, so like this game, like if my parents knew about it, I'm fucking grounded for a month, But I'd go over there and I'd play it. I'm like, this is the greatest shit I have ever played. Like this is amazing. Like this is awesome. The only similar game I got to play, and this was later, was Simpsons Hit and Run, just because my dad actually liked Simpsons, and so Simpsons Hit and Run was kind of like we could kind of get around that, kind of get like a baby version of GTA basically. But I just remember being obsessed with this open world game. And I was like, dude, when I get older, I want to make a game that's just like life. It's just like the whole video game is just like a full on life experience where it's just like a recreation of the world and you can just do whatever you want. And I just thought how fucking amazing that would be. And it's like, and then you get like those existential thoughts, like, what if we are living in like this, like an already simulated world? And this is actually just like peak gaming right now. It's like, you don't even understand the difference between the game and, actual reality. The problem with it though, is like, when you really think about it, it's like, what would reality be if this wasn't like base reality? You know what I mean? Like what, like how, I don't know.
I don't know. If I find out I'm living in the Truman Show, I'm gonna be really pissed.
Why? Why would you?
I don't know. I don't want to be some laughingstock to like this giant crowd outside of my bubble that I was never aware of. That's like an existential fear of mine. Like, what if this all is just like a simulation?
But it's not. The thing is, the thing that like, even the fear of it, like the fear of like, oh, we're in a simulation. I feel like there really can't be any real fear ultimately. And I think part of the reason is like, well, one, it's hard for me to actually accept that we're in a simulation, because what would be outside of the simulation? Like what could it possibly be? And then how would that, like, what would be base reality? Like how did we get to the point where there's even simulations being run in the first place, So that's why I
was reading a scientific text in uni, because big nerd life. But it was basically a guy stipulating on what it would be like if we were in a simulation. And the way that he explained it is, what they would do is are you familiar with the Dyson sphere terminology?
Explain it.
So it's basically, I'm going very nerdy here. Okay, so it's basically when you make a mega structure around the sun to harness all the solar energy. So what you would do is you would create a system like that around the sun where you harness all around the entire like surface area of the sun, and you'd use all that energy, which would be like a insane amount of wattage, and you blow that in a supercomputer to run a simulation. And that's what us living here would be. Some being that created a simulation from harnessing the power of the star.
But how was that created? And how would they know that they're not in a simulation? It's like,
Well, that's the Rick and Morty episode
Yeah.
of Multiverse. I don't know if you saw that. That was hilarious.
no, I love
Miniverse or
that.
whatever.
My favorite Rick and Morty is the one where they go to like that arcade and Morty puts on the
yes.
fucking headset and just lives a full life and just gets
Full
to like
life.
age 57 or something, just falls off a ladder.
Dies.
Yeah.
Wakes
Just
up, freaks out. I love that show. It's such a good show.
It is good. No, but my concern is like, how did any of this happen? Like the fact that we exist at all is just completely miraculous. It makes no sense. Even if you subscribe, oh, we're just in a simulation or something. Like how the fuck did base reality? First of all, how was base reality even a thing? Like how is there just existence at all in the first place? How did base reality get to the point where they made a simulation?
Here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I in college I took an astronomy course, and I was that was before like my gaming era, so I was very just nerdy, and I was talking to the prof about like theories and all that, and the prof explained to me how there's a concept called the Great Filter, where every this is like theoretical, of course, where every civilization that evolves over time passes through a great filter, which is like it's like a filter that's hard to pass through, where the civilization gets wiped out, except for a very small amount of civilizations that get through it. And the question after is, what is that filter exactly? Is it like the evolution from microbes to cells to like multi-cells, or is it computers with AI? Is it like a natural catastrophe, like an asteroid? Or is it in the future where like eventually like what's the point of life and everyone wipes? Where is that filtered? And today, have we passed it, or is it filtered in front of us?
Yeah, that's a good
And
question.
we were spending like full on like hours, just me and my another buddy of mine. I'm not gonna name his name, but we were talking about that for like hours with the prof and just nerding it out.
No, I love these discussions. I'm always fascinated about it. I think I just have too much time on my hands, so I think about it. JT, he has a family, he's got kids. He doesn't got as much time as us needs. Us needs.
I'm too fucking stupid for whatever you guys are talking about. I zoned out.
I'm fascinated by it. I think mainly because just the way I was raised, like there was a purpose. Like there was like everything was already laid out. With Mormon theology, it's like, okay, we know who God is. God talks to humans. They just come down to the flesh, talk to the prophet, and everything's laid out for us. If we want to go to heaven, which is just going to be perfect bliss, just endless progression and whatnot, you just got to live this way, and then you're good to go. And then deconstructing that, I think just my mind just now has this framework of like trying to find purpose or trying to find like what the fuck is going on. This whole existence is absurd, and not having like a kind of like structured framework, it just allows my mind to just roam of like trying to, and I feel like it's pretty human to just try to figure out, like try to create a story about what the hell's going on, but ultimately like no story really fits reality because it's just so bizarre and our human minds could never comprehend exactly what the hell is happening. I think that's kind of the purpose in a way. Like it's just like everything's so complex and so confusing that like I don't even think we'd ever even have the capability of understanding what's happening ultimately, but it's fun to just theorize and just I don't know, just imagine what more is out there.
Have you watched the movie Arrival?
Yes.
That is a good movie.
It's cool. What do you guys
Especially the ending.
What do you guys think about like extraterrestrial life? Like do you think there's like intelligence out there?
So here's my take on aliens.
Okay.
Finally, something I can contribute to.
Yeah.
Leave it to the dumb rednecks to talk about aliens being real.
The UFOs or UAPs.
They're fucking aliens out there. No, so I think that there 100% are aliens. I at least I hope. We're such a small planet, and there's obviously so many things that had to go right for human life to be formed and all that jazz. But
Hmm.
what I hope there are aliens and that they come visit us soon because and this is where we're gonna kind of dive into something that's not extraterrestrial life. Is I think if there's anything human beings know how to do, it's to like get really angry and hate other things. So if us humans could see aliens and figure out that we as a human race could just hate aliens, we would come together and world peace would finally happen. That's my theory.
Yeah.
100%. But yeah, I think aliens are real. I think that extraterrestrial life is like out there. I don't know if they're like giant goo people, but I definitely think that the universe is way too large for us to be the only living beings on it.
Mm. Yeah, that
What about
would
you,
be.
LGR?
Yeah.
I definitely think they exist. I if they visited Earth or not, I doubt it. Maybe I'm not gonna
Oh, we're
say,
here.
but I'm gonna nerd out again, dude. God damn it.
No, go for it. This is all. I'm all about it.
There's you can Google it if you'd like on your own time, but there's something called the Drake equation, which is a scientist that basically explained how he estimated how many potential civilizations could exist in the universe, and then he basically like obviously like there's no data point here, it's just us.
Hmm.
So he looked at how many stars are in a galaxy, how many galaxies there are, how many potential planets around each star, how many planets are in the Goldilocks zone, which is like the zone where it's not too hot because it's too close to the sun, but not too cold where it's too far from the sun. And the probability that they make it through the filters and the probability that they're alive today at the same time as us. And that equation proves that there's like a bunch of aliens everywhere, which I wouldn't be surprised of. But the concern I have is if aliens do end up visiting us, let's just say in a theoretical world, the fact that they're able to visit us means that they're insanely advanced compared to us. And we don't know what their intentions would be if they do end up visiting us. Because let's just say, for example, and I had these thoughts when I was younger, and I was I guess, a weird kid. Maybe I don't. Maybe there's like psychologists listening to this, going like, "Oh shit, sorry." But I had thoughts where, like, imagine like you walk outside in
Yeah.
the summer and you see like an ant nest, and like you accidentally step on it because you're just like you don't know about the ant nest. You're just walking to go groceries or whatever,
Yeah.
and you kill that entire nest. You're not gonna stop and start crying and say, "Oh shit, I killed it." No, you're just gonna keep walking, right? But what if an alien sees us as those ants and just passes through for something that we have no idea what they're doing, don't understand anything, and they accidentally kill us?
Well, that's
What
the
happens then?
that's the fear of AI. I mean, as soon as we have AGI, like intelligence that's far, far superior and ever growing, just with knowledge and wisdom and everything, like they're gonna have aspirations that far exceed any primitive aspirations that we have as humans. And like, I mean, they could genuinely treat us like like we treat animals. It's just like yeah, we'll treat you somewhat fairly, but as soon as we have some human aspirations, we're not caring about you or your animals like well-being ultimately. So we could definitely see that with AI. That's like, I don't know. I'm relatively optimistic about AI in the future, but at the same time, just with how fucked up our world is, I also get very concerned about like really bad incentives and just like creating insanely disturbing dystopias that we live in under like AI.
Well, didn't Sam Altman just like, didn't they just start trying to profit from their company?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they did.
yeah.
That was
Yeah,
recent.
yeah. Didn't he tell the federal government that he had no interest in trying to make money like that?
Yeah, he did that in the past, but now he's trying
Yeah.
to
It's
monetize it.
it's interesting because like it AI is seen as like, oh shit, like we're gonna fuck up our world even more than it already is. But I'm just like, the part I remain optimistic is like there's so many complex issues that are happening in our world. I mean, just one of them is just bad belief systems that a lot of the world holds. Is just like completely just divisive and tribalistic and stuff. And it's like that I don't even know how you fucking recover from something like try to band humanity together. Like I like JT's, optimism of like we need to like band together because like we have now a common enemy that's aliens.
Yeah.
But I like my hope is that AI would because I think the way I see it is like knowledge and truth and like wisdom and like really understanding what's actually going on is going to just lead us to better places, like in human well-being in a way. Like I think like ignorance is always is never the cure. Like just being ignorant on that stuff, even learning uncomfortable and harsh truths, I think is always the way to go ultimately to like progress humanity. And so I don't know, I think AI is going to give us a lot of like knowledge and tools and medicine and just everything else that I think will slowly get us to a better spot. I think just history tells us like ignorance is always worse than knowledge, again, even if it's harsh, even if it's like a harsh truth to recognize. So I don't know, I'm optimistic about the AI scene, but
I am too,
still
actually.
scary though.
There is a risk involved, but I think the benefit far outweigh for now, of course. If we wipe ourselves from it, then maybe not, but time will tell.
I'm scared of it, man. I've seen iRobot. That shit terrifies me. Dude, I'm a redneck from Texas, man. Dude, everything about that shit scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, it's
and I also want to emphasize, like, we're only scratching the surface with AI right now. This is nothing compared to
Yeah,
what
I think
it could
right now our biggest limiter is power issues, right? I think Mark
But
Zuckerberg is
the
talking about
power
trying to get like
consumption is
nuclear
very
power
high.
grants.
Yeah, eventually I think, and I'm very ignorant on this point, but like quantum computing, I think is going to be.
It's already a thing, by the way. It exists.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah,
my
but not to the
boss is
scale.
working on it, but the scale is too low.
Yeah, the
for it
issue
to
that
be worth.
that I heard that they're having is a lot of cooling. They
Yeah,
have
you
they have
have
an issue
to.
with cooling it.
I might get this wrong, so maybe some PhDs listening to this is screaming, but like basically you shoot lasers at a certain location to try to get something cooled as low as possible, and you're cooling it down to like Kelvin. I don't know if you guys use Kelvin in the States.
Well, we know what
You're
it
basically
is.
cooling it
Some
down
of us.
to practically absolute zero,
Yeah.
and you have to maintain that level of cooling, which is insane in terms of power consumption. And the like the computers today have like billions of transistors, while the quantum computers only have like 512 qubits, which is nothing in terms, not enough for it to be worth. But if that does take off, it would actually break all the cryptic like passwords. Everything would break. All our security, everything would be broken.
I've
Yeah,
heard that
our
like the
encryption, as we know,
economy
would be
gets
screwed.
fucked too.
It would
Like,
be really bad.
winner takes it all, basically. Like, whoever gets to that point first, like just
You just have to hope it's a good country that gets that power first, and not a country with beliefs to
I hope
kill
all your
others.
savings are buried in gold somewhere.
Gold's not gonna fucking matter. It's gonna matter.
Hope you have beer
fucking
bottles stacked up, dude. Beer can,
food
beer
and water
bottle.
and shelter is gonna matter.
Yeah.
I'm not taking your gold. I'm keeping my canned food. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about high level D irons, opinions and
Back to
advice.
RuneScape.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go.
We took a detour. I liked it.
I can nerd out on that stuff sometimes. It happens.
Yeah, no, why don't you start on this one, LGR? High level de-ironing.
Yeah, okay, so I had several friends. I was in a big Ironman clan and just a lot of irons overall around me. And a lot of them were always asking me, like, should I de-iron? And my recommendation has always been the same. It was to watch your Sae Bae cast with a cold one. It was one of the OG casts, and he had a segment in there where we talked about de-ironing. So my advice to anyone that's considering it, don't be impulsive. Wait. And if you feel like that's it. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
Yeah, did you
I'm
bring this
never
up
gonna
because I've
de-iron,
been so heavily contemplating de-ironing?
Yeah, you're on the brink right there, JT.
Yeah, I am. My timer's ticking down right now, actually. I don't know. I'm at like my account is not impressive as an Ironman. It's not impressive as a main account, and my achievements and accomplishments I don't hold to. Like, I just look at it as for my own thing. Like, this account is my thing. It's not a comparison to anybody else. It's what I've accomplished. And I think like a lot of the contemplation I've had with de-ironing is like, I don't know if my fun anymore is is tied to the game mode that I play. I think that my fun is getting collection log pop up. That gives me dopamine. Um, but like I'm not decided on it. I'm thinking about just playing a main account for a little bit maybe. I don't know. De-ironing is such a scary thing. It's so permanent.
Yeah, you can't go back.
Yeah. Yeah,
You gotta be sure.
it just depends on, and everybody's like different with how they treat the game and stuff. Like if I remember years back holding on to like, yeah, never de-iron, don't do it. You know, but that was just a lot of projection on my part. Like I loved Iron Man, so it would just, how could you not like it if you started one? But yeah, I mean, I'm totally on board. If you're not having a good time, and there's a lot of reasons to not have a good time on Iron Man. Like one of them is just absurd drop rates, blood shards, like things like that. It's just some people just want to enjoy raiding with the boys, buying the shit on the Grand Exchange, and just enjoying themselves.
One of my old buddies, Siphon, he de-ironed a long time ago, and he had like a basically max iron for the time, and he just wanted to top all day. That's all he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So he took the decision he asked me for advice. I sent him the Sae Bae cast, and I said like, look, man, I'm not gonna tell you not to do it. It's your choice. Just don't be impulsive. And he came back to me like a few weeks later. He said, "Pulled the trigger. I'm a main." I'm like, "Okay, good for you. We can still
Damn.
raid together." Like I
Yeah.
don't changes nothing for me, you know.
We've lost a lot of good people to de-irons. Was it Bubsy? Do you remember the Bubsy from Olympus?
Yes,
Sater?
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah, he de-ironed over top. He was like top 50 Ironman. And he de-ironed, I think at 2600 top KC because he couldn't get a scythe.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
he had like, I think at the time he had like 1.2 bill XP.
Yeah, no, it happens all the time now. I mean, it's just like people get older, it's just priorities shift and stuff. And the Iron Man, it's like you get to a point where it's like, this is just endless. It's not like I'm trying to reach a certain point. Most people aren't going for 200 mil all, and most people aren't going for claw. I mean, even if you are going to clog, you can do it on main. It's like just, yeah. And Iron Man, there's just so many annoyances with the game mode once you hit that end game. It's just there just is. So I don't blame anybody. Okay, let's see.
I already
Let's
talked about that point. That's
yeah,
good shit.
yeah. So I guess we can briefly touch on the crystal shard changes.
Yes, I wanted to touch on this because that update kind of just dropped. I was like kind of surprised, and I went really dry on Volcano Pet, and I was just like the entire time I was coping. I was like, hey, this is gonna be useful one day for my crystal keys. And out of the blue, Jagex, I don't know if it was poll or not. I don't remember, but they updated the crystal shards throughout the entire game, where it's basically a lot easier to acquire. But not only that, they also buffed the crystal shard from the keys that you open the Elven crystal chests. Now, initially, you need, or statistically speaking, you have to open 5,700 keys to get rate for Dragonstone completion. And on an iron, that was really rough because you had to get the keys for one, which is the hardest part. But you also have to grind the shards through thieving elves. Now, what they did is that they changed the drop table and they added a lot of crystal acorns. And you actually get a shit ton of crystal acorns. And each acorn also now gives you, I think it's around 30 shards on average. So that reduced the amount of crystal shards you need. Before the update, from memory, it was 44,000 shards you needed, which included the ones that you got back from opening the keys. But now, if I'm not mistaken, it's closer to 7,000 total
Whoa.
shards, which is
Wow.
huge nerd. I have 15,000 in my bank right now, so like I'm technically good. Obviously, I'm blocked by the crystal keys, but I just wanted to mention that because that's like a big difference.
Yeah, yeah.
Mostly for irons, of course. For mains, it's just like a GP sync, but they will get more money back from acorns.
I loved personally getting my crystal keys through Seracnus, just the one in 100 from there. So that was a great way. But there's also Gorax, which is pretty insane. How are you going to get your crystal keys, or is it just really passive for you?
For now, it's passive. The ranged archaeologist is technically the meta. I did 1,000 kills just for like the memes on the boss kill count, high scores, but I will not do that for my keys because I'd rather just AFK Gorax at work. But my concerned about doing that. Like I know Master Barter is currently doing that because he's 5,500 keys right now on his iron. No, I think he's missing 2 pieces if I'm not
What?
mistaken.
Oh my god.
Jai Hai, by the way, finished a full set. I don't know if you knew about
I
that.
didn't. How many keys?
He, ah,
I think there's a few Ironmen that have completed it now.
I can check if I stalk my DMs with him, but I do yap with him quite a lot, though. To be fair, he's a knowledgeable guy. But I think it was like sub 3,000.
Nice.
Can I get lucky and scroll fast? Oh yeah, I got a screenshot here. 2588 keys.
Not bad.
Just very lucky.
Yeah.
But sadly, he's not a full-time clogger. He's going for 200 mil all.
Yeah, no,
Tried to
those
convince
those,
him,
those
but-
changes like that are huge devaluements, but it's just what happens. You just expect it at this point. Just like the game is shifting pretty quickly, even with trying to be careful. It's like little changes like that make huge differences. So
Well, that's my concern. Like, if I do Gorax for like a year or whatever to get the Dragonstone armor piece, and then Jayax just releases a new boss that drops 10 crystal keys noted.
yeah, that's
Like, what happens then? Like
I know.
shit.
It's exhausting playing that way. That's why, like,
Just log out, man.
yeah, no, honestly, wait until
Log out. Wait 10 years.
wait until Pip's Squeal of Fortune comes out and just buy your elevated services.
Log out. Work overtime. Make a bunch of money when Wheel of Fortune comes out. You just blow all the money on that.
Yeah, just make sure you pay $72 a month for your membership so you get max rolls.
Okay,
Oh.
last sort of topics we want to touch on before wrapping things up is RS and life balance. So we've kind of hinted at this a little bit, just the taking steps away from needing the game super, super hard. What do you guys do to live like healthy habits but still enjoy the game and progress?
You want to go LGR with me?
I'll start and I'll throw it to you after.
All right.
I took a big step back from the game like a little over 10 months ago. I basically met a girl. That's the
Damn
the
it,
main
dude.
reason. And started preferring spending my time with her over playing this game.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I've been slacking the gym, however. I don't know if that's correlates with the girl or not, maybe. But it's been nice taking a step back from the game, just playing less. I'm still active on Discord, like I have my phone on me like all the time, which is kind of where I speak to all the boys and the clan. But taking the step back, playing less, just really gave me. It feels good. Like I'm actually focusing more on my work as well, trying to progress in my career, and trying to improve the relationship as well. I also bought a condo recently that I live alone and own currently, which is really sick. And
Congrats.
yeah, I'm planning to travel more. So I still play. I still love this game, and I don't think that's ever going to change. I'm just going to play less and less over time.
Nice.
But it's been hard to maintain one video a week, though. I'll admit that. That's tough.
Yeah.
Shout out schedule uploading, though. That's for sure.
So taking a step away from the gym, do you still keep your health in check, or are you just like completely off the walls?
I've been. I have a gym buddy, and like we always talk about the gym together, and he's just like been insulting me nonstop. He's like, "Dude, go to the gym." And I'm like, "No." I have to get back into it.
You might need a.
I was at a really good place. Like I was lifting my like all-time records, doing muscle ups and handstands and all that, and then I just kind of started slacking.
Are you still maintaining muscle or mass, or you feel like you're losing it? Like, are you still?
I think
eating
I'm
enough
maintaining the
protein?
mass. I'm just gaining like the belly. I have a 6-pack of beer in my stomach,
Yeah,
basically.
so no longer lone gym rat, lone gym fat. No, I'm kidding.
More like taken gym fat. Yeah.
No, I think I think it's genuinely healthy to like take breaks from things, even for extended periods of time. Like as long as you're like satisfied with your life, if it feels like if it feels like you're going against like conscience, then that's a different story. But if it's like you're just taking a break from it, it's like I think that's totally healthy, especially if you're still mindful about like maintaining the muscle mass, because weight loss, in my opinion, is like the easy part. Like it's just
Just like the opposite for me. Shit.
really like
I gain mass super easily. it's been
Yeah.
an advantage, I guess, but a disadvantage at the same time.
Yeah, but I feel like when you dial in, like don't get me wrong, when you're in a mindset where it's just like you're just lazy about it, but when you dial things in, it's much easier. And I'm comparing this. I'm not saying losing weight is easy. I'm just saying the comparison of like building muscle versus weight loss. Weight
Well,
loss is
it
so
has
much
to
easier.
do a lot with your metabolism. Like I'm assuming you just burn calories a lot easier naturally, so that's why it's easier for you to lose mass
No, no,
and hard. Because I have one
yeah.
of my buddies. He eats like eats double what I eat, and he's slim like a toothpick. And he wishes he could gain mass, but his body just I don't know how he does it.
Yeah.
I want to know his secrets for sure, but
No,
he's just
it's
not able to
true.
gain mass.
It's true. Everyone has a different like body composition and everything, and it's easy. Like my brother can put on weight massively, like quickly, and myself, I've always just been kind of medium. Like I can get chubby if I want, but I'm mindful of it. But I guess generally speaking, and you could be, like the outlier and just like you just put on muscle mass super easy. But for most people, it's like building actual lean tissue is like takes so fucking long. And losing the weight is
It's
like the
always
easy
gonna take
part.
time.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Sater here for sure. I think for me it's always been a struggle to put on a lot of muscle mass, but I've always been thin. Like, what was it? I think I was like 115 pounds until I was like 21 years old, and then
Wow.
yeah.
Wait, how
And
tall
now
are you?
I'm five. Well, a
I'm just
contentious
thinking about
topic in the
OTB.
clan, dude. I'm
What?
5'10", and I'll die on that hill.
Hey, I'm 5'10"
Okay,
too.
I'll give some some background here. Like we have a few uh, Dutch people in our clan, and
Mm-hmm.
the Dutch genetics is like the equivalent of spooning a Tebow. Like they're just all tall. And like this guy in our clan OTB was like calling JT short, and then JT's like, I'm not short, and I'm like JT, how tall are you? And he says his height. I'm like, shit, me too. And then OTB just doubled down. He's like, you guys are both short.
Oh
Yeah, so
no.
now it's like anytime I say anything, it's just commonly known that people are gonna somehow relate it to me being short or small in stature.
5'10" is
You're
not
not
short.
short.
What the
That's
fuck?
Thank you.
You're
Oh my
average
God,
for,
I
like,
needed to hear
NA.
that today.
Can we
But
clip this and send it to OTB real quick? Like,
He's
what's
just
the
gonna he's just
timestamp of
gonna
the
he's just
video?
gonna call us a bunch of manlets, like we're all 5'10". We're just like fucking. We're not short. Like yeah, we're actually short.
But-
God damn it.
yeah, I mean, I found the gym, and just kind of like understanding, eating habits and how often you should be eating and stuff like that. And now I've been rotating, like pretty much maintaining at like 170, 175 for the last like 4 years. So like super good, super healthy weight. I love the gym. Some of us have to keep going so that people like LGR can stay at home and play RuneScape. But no, I really wanted to touch on this subject because I know that you have kind of been making some strides in your life. And for me, I'm like, I love biking, but I like to mountain bike and I like to weightlift. And for me, like I like running. Like my goal this year is to do an ultra marathon. It's a big thing for me. But I know that you recently started just doing mostly calisthenics and road biking because I remember when you bought your road bike. And I was curious to how you're liking that. It seems like you're doing really well.
Yeah, no, I love going out every day basically. Like as long as it's not like soaking wet and raining, I'll go out. And we've had a nice dry spell where it's been freezing, but it's been dry out, so biking's nice. And yeah, it's just building habits ultimately. That's with everything, and I'm trying to apply that more to like mental health goals as well, where it's like I know my mental health suffers in a lot of ways, and all it is like just building better habits, building habits like nutrition wise, morning schedules, like just getting things in order, because we're all human, and it's like humans find patterns, and if you build the right habits, like because you can build the wrong habits are play RuneScape 20 hours a day. It's like that. It's like then that's your new habit, like you're gonna keep doing it. So it's just like building the habits, and that's what I did with fitness. And it was just like, I'm not trying to be the biggest guy. I'm not trying to like gain a bunch of muscle, mainly because I can't find that being very sustainable for myself at the moment. And one thing I could find sustainable was just basic calisthenics, at-home workouts, things that are enjoyable. And again, I'm lucky. Like I have a lot of freedom, a lot of time on my hands to just like whenever it feels right, like whenever my body's warmed up, whenever I'm like, I want to drop down and do 3 sets of push-ups, and I want to, you know, go do some dips, or I want to go do some body squats and lunges and stuff. It's like I can just do them. I'm not in like a work space where it's like, oh shit, like I'm in my dress clothes and I can't do that. Like I have that luxury of just like kind of working out whenever feels right. And that's just been very sustainable for me. And like winter months, I'll get a little fluffy just for fun. But during spring and summer, that's when I like to lean out, and it just feels good. It's just, you just feel so much better being, at least for me, you know, I like being lean, and I like just that feeling of, I don't know, feeling like light on your feet, and feeling flexible and strong, in not a like a bodybuilding way, but just like functional strength.
Just like your joints are there and they got you kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm really, really grateful. I've never experienced like any bad injuries or have any like knee problems or back problems. Like I know so many people like entering their 30s and stuff start experiencing knee pain, or they've already had knee injuries or ankle injuries or just whatnot. And I'm really fucking lucky to just be healthy, and that's why I want to maintain that and just be active. And then, you know, talking to somebody like Cam, or My Hands Don't Work, I had him on the cast, and like, you know, he doesn't have the luxury of moving around on his legs and stuff. Like he's paralyzed. Like and you know, he's grateful for, you know, his life, and he's grateful for like what he does have, but he made it very clear, like if you have a functioning body, like use it. Like you don't understand how much of a blessing that is to like be able to go outside and run, go outside and, you know, like go to a gym and lift. Like you have a functioning, healthy body, like use it. Like don't take it for granted. Some people don't have that, you know?
Oh, for sure. No, I'm a big fan of, I wish there was, so for me, like, I'm not going to dive too much into my personal life, but I'm like active duty military, right? So, for me, like fitness is part of my job requirement, but it's so much more than that to me. And I wish, a big thing for me is I wish more people in the RuneScape community would get out and kind of just, like go for a damn walk. You don't have to go for a run. You don't have to ride a bike somewhere. You don't have to lift, 200 pounds. Just go for a walk. Walk for 45 minutes a day. It'll change your life. And I wish more people knew that was like such a good thing, for people's bodies. And I don't know how big you are into like reading or health and stuff like that, but is it Peter Tia? Tia? I don't know how to say his last name, but he's like a life longevity doctor. And his big thing is if you walk like an hour a day, you do like 10 to 12,000 steps a day, and you do like grip strength training, like that expands your like longevity of life and your ability to live into your 80s and 90s by like a substantial amount. So I don't know. For me, I think I have a biased perspective. I got 2 kids. I'm trying to live as long as I can to annoy them for as long as I can. So it's been a big part of my life, is just kind of trying to find that, not like, oh man, I'm playing RuneScape at the gym and all this stuff, but like being able to sit there and be like, you know what, JT, get off your ass, go do 30 minutes at the gym. It turns into like an hour and a half usually, because I get there, I find a rhythm, and I'm just like, dude, I don't want to leave kind of situation. But I wish more people would just kind of like go out there and express themselves and figure life out inside of like the fitness arena, because no one gives a shit what you're doing at the gym. Like, go focus, do your thing.
Yeah.
And just to add to both of you, a good book you can read, Seder, for habits is Atomic Habit by James Clear. I read that actually kind of recently.
Actually read that. All right,
very good book. Yeah, very good book.
Yeah. And like for the hands don't work guy, I was in my gym class in CGIP. There was a prof that asked all of us, like, why do you work out? And then everyone was giving different answers, stay fit, attract girls, or whatever the reason was. And then the prof said, I'm lucky that I'm able to work out, and I'm going to take advantage of it and work out as best as I can to stay fit, because I am lucky to have the ability to do so. And that kind of what you said as well with the, I didn't know about that podcast, to be fair. I'm going to go listen to it probably in the car.
Yeah, no, it's nice understanding, like, it's just being aware, or just having gratitude for like what your life is, even if like everyone has their hardships, everyone goes through like really rough fucking patches in their life, unless you're really, really, really lucky. But most people, suffer in a lot of ways, and ultimately you got to see what you're what your blessings are. I mean, for so many people, if you have a healthy body, like you are so lucky. Like you're just like that is an
you're above
amazing
everyone
thing.
else.
Even if everything else seemingly is just in a shit spot most of the time, you know, things like that turn around. But yeah, no, I think one of the things, you know, JT mentioned it, is like it's finding the purpose. And, you know, I am totally guilty of just like I will be the most demotivated because I just don't have a purpose. Like I'll just, you know, so it's like finding that purpose, and that's, you know, everyone's on a different journey. But like for me, it was really transformative to, you know, like I've mentioned this before and I don't touch on it as much anymore just because there's too many caveats to mention, but like me doing mushrooms, like that just like changed my brain chemistry in a lot of ways. Like I was super into RuneScape. It's all I kind of focused about, and like doing any form of workout was just fucking like, it's just like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, oh my God, like I don't want to go for a walk. Like Jesus Christ, like that's such XP waste. And I don't know. I don't want to go outside. That doesn't sound fun. And then like that mind shift kind of happened where I saw it as like, I just saw it differently, and like it gave me a different purpose. It gave me a different reason to like stay healthy. Like it was just, I think, you know, for me, I was lucky to have like these kind of like transformative experiences, one through like psychedelics, but on top of that, just also just afterwards, like being mindful of just like, why am I doing this? Like, why do I want to stay fit? And there's like a lot of reasons for it. And obviously finding that purpose is different for everyone. So I'm not going to go on like a self-help thing about that, but like you got to find your purpose first. That's what's going to be sustainable. You can't just do it because somebody's telling you like, just like go on a walk. Like, oh, I'm fucking depressed. It's like, yeah, you got to work on step number one, which is like,
Yeah, walk it out, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, it would help. Like
Yeah.
there is an element of like, you know, things compound. So making strides, any strides you can, it does help. But that purpose
Yeah,
is
but
so
finding
important.
the motivation and that, yeah, that's there's a phrase that goes into that. It's that like motivation and like all this excitement when you first start something is temporary, and the one thing that's going to carry you through it all is going to be discipline. And like and usually discipline comes from like having an understanding and a purpose of why you want to do something to begin with.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's 100%. Like it's got to be driven by that purpose. Like you can't just wholly rely on discipline. You would just have a fucking miserable existence, like just doing shit just for no real reason, but just to be disciplined. It just doesn't make sense. Like, and you know, this is one thing I want to say, like, and this is only out to those people that really have struggled to ever find any fulfillment in physical health or fitness. It's like, you do not need to take the David fucking Goggins approach where it's like you wake up at the crack of fucking dawn and go run a marathon. It's like, no, do not do that. Like that's like the number one way to just hate your life and burn out immediately or starve yourself. You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to start eating healthy and just fucking limit your calories to 50% and just instantly binge 3 days later. It's like, no, just take little steps. I mean, it's just like go for a 10-minute walk, you know, twice a week. Start off, you know, if you're just absolutely not doing anything, and like drink water more, you know, maybe just cut out some soda and just like eat less, like be mindful of that. Like that's for like weight loss and stuff, but just like the little teeny steps really do compound. That was how I did it. It's like, you know, I've definitely transformed my physique over like 2.5 years, and none of that came immediately. It was just little teeny steps, and you just got to take those small victories, which is hard because it's easy to relate to. It's easy to compare yourself to like other people, but it's like everyone's on their own journey.
I think we're also used to like the linear progression, like in RuneScape, where your XP just keeps going up. But in real life, it's not like that. You got to maintain it for a long time until you start actually seeing the results.
And it is ups and downs. Nothing's linear. Yeah.
But you do get like buffs where you start noticing, oh, look at that, and I can flex my pecs, or I can see my abs now, and those things are what should be keeping you
motivated. Yeah, no, for real. That's like the best thing ever, where you look at yourself, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I didn't notice that about, you know, my body 5 months ago. Cool. Yeah, what do you guys touch on some books? I mean, I listen to audiobooks. I'm obsessed with like nonfiction philosophy and just.
What are you reading right now, or listening to, should I say, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no, well, it's actually funny. Like, nobody's asked me that. This might be controversial, but I actually just finished The Cult of Trump by Stephen Hassan, who's like a cult expert. And I first started getting into his books. I think I've read now 3 of his, or listened to them. I only listened, but he had one that was just about his experience in the Moonies and stuff, and just being completely captured by an ideology, and then just, you know, just became obsessed in this Moonies cult way back in like the 70s or whatnot. And so he's like a cult expert. He helps people get out of cults and stuff. And I was raised in a cult, and so I'm just like always like fascinated
It's
by.
Stephen Hassan.
Yeah,
I'll have
Stephen
to give it a
Hassan.
read. I'm a fan, man. I
Yeah.
have zero, like, I wouldn't say I have zero political. I don't care. Like for me, like I would rather listen to it and read it all instead of having like this polarized. Oh, I only prescribe to this one perspective. I'd rather just consume knowledge and information. Like right now, I'm reading what people would consider a controversial book too. I'm reading The War on Ivermectin.
Oh damn.
I'm not sure if you're familiar.
Who's
of
the
that.
author?
Let me. Where is the book? It's right upstairs. Let me just look it up. Because I read at night with my wife. It's just sitting on my bedstool. It's Pierre Corey. He's a doctor. And so he basically so far has dove into the impacts and studies and the bias that big pharma can create in America and just the world in general by throwing money around and creating their own bias researches by using specific criteria or by like specific patients to doctor the end results of their studies in order to push pharmaceutical drugs on people or not push pharmaceutical drugs on people that they don't want pushed out because they won't profit from it.
Interesting. So, yeah, that the whole pharmaceutical industry, I mean, that whole thing is, I mean, it's so tough because it's obviously riddled with bad incentives, but ultimately, like, there is a lot of benefit to, like these medications and stuff. But yeah, it's just, that's such a
deep
fucking
rabbit hole,
complex,
brother.
it's such a complex issue. Yeah,
it is because like, if you look at it, it's so easy to create this like weird conspiracy theory of, well, why would they want to cure you if they can create a lifelong patient and all of this stuff. So
yeah,
I find it so fascinating.
It's a lot. That sounds like a fascinating read. Do you
I'm
read
just chilling
LGR?
in Canada.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry about healthcare.
Yeah.
It's just a sign.
I mean, you probably do
right
but
now.
it just
Yeah, it's well, I mean, our healthcare system is free, but it's not perfect either.
Yeah.
It's very good if there's an emergency. Like if something serious, life-threatening
sure.
happens, you will be like first on the list. But if it's something minor, you might end up waiting a long time. I only read books on vacation. I'm more of a podcast person. I listen to podcasts in the car when I drive to and back from work.
What are you listening to right now? I'm a content consumer, so give me something to listen to. I'd love to know.
I pot the Sae Bae cast when it's a guest that's like interesting or I know.
Every single one, right? Every single
one. Shit, what do I respond? And otherwise, I like Lex Friedman. I listen to him a lot. Joe Rogan, but like only when it's an interesting cast, not every single one. I also listen to PBD, Patrick Bet-David, but
I haven't heard of that one.
He's very political nowadays, so I kind of like because I don't care about the politics. Like, it's interesting to follow, but like I'm not involved enough in Canada, so I just kind of stay away from it. But he's more like of a finance entrepreneur type, so it's fun. Like he's an immigrant from Iran, and he built like $1 million company from scratch.
Oh, I've seen clips of this guy. I've never watched one of his podcasts, but
I've been following him since the start. But then, like as I said, he drifted towards politics a lot recently. So
yeah. Everyone eventually drifts towards politics. Just what happens.
Well, I mean, it's like prime time, but now it should be over.
No. It's
never ends, brother.
It's never ending. We're in a different era, unfortunately.
I feel like such a minority in that realm too, is because I look at it and like I don't really have any political affiliation for the most part. Like I don't really care. I have I just like to listen to why people, like I said earlier, right? It's nice to see you impassioned about something. I don't care what your belief is. I just like to listen to people talk when they're passionate about something. I think it's really cool to listen to people's opinions and perspectives or facts, what have you. I just try to absorb all of that. So I don't know. I think the whole you shouldn't listen to this because it's politically leaning in this direction. I don't really care. I just want to absorb it all, whether it's left, right, middle, center. I don't care. Big fan, no matter what.
It's fascinating though, the world we live in with the online space. I mean, just so much fucking info. It's so hard to find. Like we're so torn between like what real truth is, like what the real facts are. I mean, just so many bad incentives, so much misinformation out there on so many topics, and it's just a fucking mess. But gentlemen, I guess we'll wrap things up on a kind of more sensitive note. But let's I guess I want to have your guys' links down in the description. So LGR, I'll have your Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. JT.
You can just put YouTube. It's
Yeah, I can send them to you. I just I haven't started yet, but I do stream every once in a while, but it's nothing crazy.
Cool. Okay, yeah, just send me those. I'll have them linked in the description. So guys, go follow them down below. Really appreciate you guys' time today. This was a fascinating conversation. Great. It's always nice, again, talking to super passionate players that love the game and just, so keep up the grind, even if it's, trying to strike that perfect IRL balance. I think that is part of the grind, ultimately got that good IRL and game balance. But thank you guys for coming on. Any last words from either of you?
Thanks for having us. It was a pleasure yapping for 4 hours, or I'm not sure how long this has been. It's been
yeah,
going fast. I mean, JT and I, we both talk a lot, so it's bound to happen.
That was good.
I'm looking forward to the future.
Genuinely, yeah, thank you so much. I always appreciate the opportunity to sit down and chat about things that I have passion for in my life. So I appreciate it. It's been absolutely fantastic, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, gentlemen. And for those listening, if you guys want to support the cast, there is a Patreon link and a YouTube membership link down in the description. Get your name on the title screen, directly support the cast. And next week, we'll be not only having a Patreon exclusive cast, who I will not disclose quite yet, but we will also be getting 2 more publicly available casts as well. So stay tuned. Should be some good ones. But thank you all for listening as always, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.